Chapter 208. Michael picked up the letter. He could feel a metal card inside the letter. Carefully tearing the letter open without giving a damn about a letter opener, he started to read the words written on high-quality paper in beautiful handwriting. "Hey kiddo, little birdies told me you're here in Ice Fair. If you're here at this time, I guess you came to the auction, and I like to think you'll also visit us. Pardon our method of reaching out to you, as we are currently dealing with a delicate situation in which you can help us out. Come meet us after the auction. P.S. I have left something you might need to get into the auction, Lord Malin." He lifted the letter as a card made of silvery metal landed in his hand. The 1-inch thick card had the symbol of House Bradley etched on it. Nice, a VIP access card. Gaia recognized the card in a single glance. Except for the auctions that happened in Nagaland, she never had a VIP card outside. It was not because she couldn't afford it, but being a VIP kinda attracted people's attention, and she liked to be anonymous when participating in auctions. What did he mean by "I need to get into the auction"? Reading those words, he couldn't help recalling his little fiasco with Lord Julius in Phoenix Island. When he met Julius, he was a core strengthening stage level 5, and if he now reached level 8 or even level 10, Michael didn't give a damn, as he would reach that in a few months. He hoped Julius let go of whatever grudge he may have been holding against him, as Michael would hate to kill him because he would rather use Julius and his operation to his advantage than killing him. However, if Julius chose to do otherwise, Michael would plot a plan to replace him with one of his subordinates in the future. Unlike young masters like Noah, who would go on a killing rampage because of petty grudges, Michael liked to kill fewer people and use the infrastructure they've built over years to his own benefit. This would prove useful in the long run. For example, Julius has set up a perfect operation of trade among continents, and killing Julius and all of his people would crumble this operation to dust. But if Michael was to replace Julius as well as few others with his minions, the entire Phoenix Auction Manor would work for him. "I'm gonna get shut-eye. Wake me up early in the morning. I'll cultivate." Some of us don't have the privilege of a war god body like some lucky bastards. He just waved off before placing a system store-bought silk quilt on the bed. Gaia sat on the ground in a meditation posture to cultivate, while the little dragon hovered between them, trying to decide whether to sleep with Michael or cultivate with Gaia. Looking at Nightmare's dilemma, she just grabbed him by his tail. "You're gonna cultivate with me. It's a shame that you're still in body refining stage level 1. Slowly absorb the energy coming from this," she said, taking out the bone of the fusion stage cultivator that Michael brought from the Nether Realm. "System, can I also boost Nightmare cultivation speed by 40%? "Yes, familiars will get the boost as well as your chosen subordinate. The host's current chosen subordinate is Gaia. The host can currently boost the cultivation speed of 2 subordinates." "Great. System, boost Arius cultivation speed. I will bring some resources to Raylene when I get back to the sect. I can feel it. They'll reach level 9 in a couple of weeks. I'm awesome," Gaia proudly exclaimed, looking at Nightmare. She had no clue that her cultivation speed was being boosted by Michael. Coupled with her innate talent, the 40% boost can let her match Michael's cultivation speed itself, as he couldn't go on a killing spree every single day. The night quickly passed. Dawn somewhat broke the dark winter skies from the horizon, marking the opening day of the Heavenly Phoenix Auction, which had long since opened its gates. The giant gates had been decorated with ribbons and lanterns as both people and workers streamed in and out of the building. In the distance, quite a few dressed-up people stood there, waiting for the auction house to open. Today was the day of the annual auction at the Phoenix Auction Manor. In the past, this had always been the busiest day for the Phoenix Auction Manor, but today they had the 2 epic spell scrolls and various unique items for sale. This year was even livelier than the years before. Regardless of the rain of cold snowflakes, there were already many people waiting by the gates. The Phoenix Auction Manor building was exceptionally tall. Despite being only 3 stories tall, it had already reached several dozen meters higher into the air than of a typical 5-story building back on Earth. Just like most of the buildings in Ice Fair, it had been also built using a marble-like shiny white stone and decorated with sky-blue windows. On top of the great big gates to the auction house was a 3-meter-tall board that had the 3 words, "Phoenix Auction Manor," written in fancy calligraphy. More and more people began to gather at the Phoenix Auction Manor and filled up the nearby streets. Caravans found it extremely difficult to get by or find parking. Many people had been waiting for at least 2 hours before the ear-splitting sounds of a gong and firecrackers could be heard. This year's annual auction had finally begun. The auction this year wasn't like the past auctions. In the past, there was no fee to enter the auction house, either to participate in the auction or just to watch it. However, because of epic spells and the uniqueness of the items, the admission fee this year hiked up to 50 gold coins. This was not the amount a villager or farmer could afford, but again, this was not a place for the poor. Although this hike in prices made many people unhappy, it did not deter the people with money in their pockets. At the same time, it had gotten rid of the people who were merely there to watch the show and not buy anything. In this way, there was enough room for all the rogue cultivators and mysterious figures that were extremely interested in the items. After the gates opened up for the auction house, the people who already had tickets and waited outside for a very long time began to enter through the entrance in a straight line. On the other side of the buildings, there were much fewer people, and all of them wore elegant clothes that basically screamed nobles. VIPs, please come this way. A young man was standing near the entrance, screaming his heart out. Since Michael had a VIP access card thanks to Lord Malin, he walked towards the VIP entrance. He waited until the nobles in the line before him entered the auction house. As he reached the inner halls of the Phoenix Auction Manor, ignoring the nobles' shocked look at Nightmare, a large expansive area greeted his eyes. The place was filled with neat rows of seats for as far as the eye could see. It was clear that the number of seats had surpassed 500. The area had 2 stories worth of seats, and the 2 stories combined had a total of over 1,000 seats. Installed on the sides of every seat were dozens of private rooms for the honored guests, each separated by a tinted glass wall. From the inside, they could still clearly see the outside, but no one on the outside could see what was happening on the inside. That way, Gaia showed him the stairs to get to the second floor where the private rooms for the VIP guests were located. However, just as he was about to walk the stairs, he noticed a lady in red robes eyeing him and murmuring something with the young man who let Michael in. It was obvious they were talking about him, as they did not take their eyes away from him. Soon afterward, the lady walked towards him with a rather stern look on her face. Gaia frowned, looking at her expression, because she was full of smiles when she let the other VIP guests in. "Ghost, I assume," the lady in red robes said. She was the first one to completely ignore Nightmare, as she didn't even look at the dragon standing on his shoulder. "Yes. It seems we have to check your VIP status. Is there a problem?" He folded his hands against his chest as a sign of irritation. "The auction will begin in 3 hours. If you want to auction your items, please seek out our manager, Miss Vargas, on the first floor." A voice of an elder sounded throughout the building. "Tell them, it'll be there in a few minutes," the red robes woman said, as he realized the woman before him is the manager of this branch, Miss Vargas. "Well, this saved me the trouble of finding you to auction this." His goal was today to auction the rare herbs he found at the treacherous ocean and some of the rare spells he got from the Nether Realm. By doing this, he would get richer and use the gold coins to develop his business empire. Because of this plan, he first wanted to tempt this lady for her to stop acting like a bitch. Only if she still continued to act this way he would leave this place, but if he walked out of this place, the name Julius would certainly make its way into his kill list along with this woman. Her stern look took a turn as her brows arched up when she saw the silk apples in Michael's hands. The fragrance of the fruits instantly made her mouth water. Just a single glance could tell her that these fruits were at least 2,000 years old. An alchemist would buy the silk apples instead of an epic spell any time of the day, and she just saw Alchemy King Gabriel's disciples settling in one of the VIP rooms. Choose wisely, Miss Vargas. Petty grudges and lose a valuable customer, or wipe the slate clean and make some sweet, sweet money. Chapter 209. This is. Vargas reached out to grab one of the silk apples in the basket. Michael had a total of 30 apples, but he chose to auction only 5 because according to the system, it could extract the seeds from the other apples and help him grow silk apple trees after it reached version 4.0. The probability of getting healthy seeds out of a silk apple was 40% according to the system. Therefore, Michael decided to keep most of the apples instead of auctioning them. However, before she could touch an apple, he pulled the basket away from her. Congratulations, Master Ghost, we have checked your VIP status and are honored to offer you a permanent VIP status of your own, as you don't need to carry the VIP card of the Bradley family anymore. It was really surprising how Vargas' expression changed in a blink of an eye. Unlike before, she was now grinning ear to ear. After all, she was a businesswoman who knows what's good for business. Her change of character wasn't a big shock to him because after his time spending with the merchants in this world, he knew these merchants are cunning, shameless, and do almost anything if it brings profit to them at the end of the day. It also revealed Michael two things. She wasn't under a strict order of Julius not to let him anywhere near his Phoenix Auction Manor houses, and she wasn't as good as she's thinking. Otherwise, she would have behaved like this from the beginning and not like the bitch she was before. My assistant here will give you your VIP access card after the auction. Make it black. As you wish. Vargas' grin grew wider as she sighed a sigh of relief. Michael nodded approvingly before handing over the basket of silk apples to Vargas. She grabbed the basket as her life depended on it and held it against her ample chest tightly. Remember, we are not selling the apples. We're auctioning them, Gaia said with a cold tone. Just like in any other auction house, the Phoenix Auction Manor too had two options for the sellers to choose from. They could either sell the items to the Phoenix Auction Manor or auction the items in events like this. By choosing the latter, the sellers had to pay a small fee before the auction and a small cut in the gold coins after successfully auctioning the item. Those who want to make gold coins quick and hate to pay a cut could choose the option to sell. There was no downside for this option, as the Phoenix Auction Manor was trusted by people to give them the right price. They wouldn't sully this reputation by swindling their customers, downplaying the value of the item like in pawn shops. However, if one decided to auction the item instead of selling, the starting bid price would be always somewhat less than its actual value. If bidders chose not to go for high bids and the item ended up being sold way cheaper than its actual value, there was nothing the seller could do except take the bid money. This risk would be greater when superpowers compete for the item, as they would often intimidate others not to place bids more than them if they took a liking to the said item. Plus, selling the items instantly was always a great way to remain anonymous, as the deal would happen between the auction house and the seller, no third parties included. In the method of auction, however, the bidder, the representative of the auction house, and the seller would meet in the same room for the exchange of money and item. If the bidder chose to pursue the seller or the seller chose to get the item later on from the bidder's corpse, there would be a problem. End of the day, it boils down to the rarity of the item, the number of gold coins, and the greediness of either party included in the deal. But auctioning it is, Michael interrupted Vargas when she was about to speak, and put these in the auction too the next moment. He made Vargas' heart almost jump out in shock by taking out a few 3,000 years old herbs such as storm leaf, bitter barberry, river chicory, and ash bloom. He plucked these from the treacherous ocean. Her body became rigid. Whoa! Vargas gasped. Either of these herbs could go for 300,000 gold coins minimum. Yet she also knew that alchemists like them rarely auction rare herbs such as these. She couldn't help but wonder why he's auctioning these herbs that most alchemists consider priceless. For other alchemists, they were indeed priceless, but for him, these were just overrated junk because he could get the same medicinal qualities these herbs provide from common plants which weren't even acknowledged as herbs by the alchemists in this world. That's all. I'll see you after the auction, Michael said before leaving her to get to his VIP room. When they disappeared from Vargas' sight, he grabbed Gaia's hands, halting her steps. Go sit with the crowd. Why? Nightmare asked cluelessly. The little dragon saw an evil grin slowly emerge on their faces. They'll contact you through the earbuds and keep you updated. Gaia nodded as he placed his hand on her face. System change her face. Gaia felt the familiar tingling sensation underneath her skin as she could feel her face changing. Change your face again before meeting me after the auction. Even without Michael explaining what he was thinking, she knew exactly what he wanted her to do. In fact, she always did that for fun when she was a rogue cultivator, but now, she could have fun as well as get rich. After Gaia went to sit with the commoners and lesser nobles, he and Nightmare walked up to the stairs, reaching the second floor. The second floor of the auction hall was where all the private rooms were located. Those who had the privileges of staying in one of those rooms were all wealthy people with great influence. This time we have to get something nice. My family gave me quite a chunk to get a weapon for the upcoming tournaments. Nice? I heard they sell some great-ass weapons in the auction. Michael was the first to enter the second floor, but soon many youngsters and elders reached the floor from other entrances. Michael quickly grabbed Nightmare, putting him inside his coat pocket. Only a few of them were able to take a glance at Nightmare before he disappeared into Michael's pockets. They stared at Michael, murmuring among themselves before entering their VIP rooms. Michael just slowly walked past each room as he soon came in front of a door that had the symbol of the Bradley family etched on it. However, he didn't enter the room as the others did, but waited for the corridors to become empty. Considering the VIPs were far less than the lesser nobles and commoners participating in the auction, after waiting for 15 minutes, one couldn't see a soul except Michael. "Spy my little spiders." He retrieved the spying little spiders from his system storage and let them crawl through every VIP room in the area. Only after every single spider reached their respective room to spy, he entered the room allocated for him. The decoration within the private room was simple. There was a long solid wood table right in the center, and in front of the table there were a few big fancy sofas. In front of these sofas there was crystal clear glass. He could see the entire auction hall as well as the stands on the center stage of the auction hall while sitting on the sofa. On the center stage, a bunch of youngsters, the majority of them were girls, still bringing more and more stands covered in red cloth to the stage. A few of them contained the herbs Michael gave to Vargas. At the moment, there was a huge piece of cloth covering the majority of the stands, making everyone unable to see what was hidden underneath. After some time, the auction hall had been completely filled up, with every last empty spot being crowded with people standing close together. Just as the final seats were taken and everyone had settled down, a golden eruption of fireworks exploded overhead, instantly calming down the noise. After that, an old man in a gray robe slowly descended from above and landed right onto the stage. The old man was in his 50s, and his sleeves fluttered with every soft breeze passing by. His oily face carried a friendly smile, leaving a good impression on all those who watched him. The clothes covering the items also slowly started to ascend into the air, revealing the items to the crowd. The elder's eyes swept the audience as he cleared his throat and loudly announced, "Honored guests, I thank you all for participating in our Phoenix Auction Manor's annual auction. I, Goran Lanyon, will be the host for this year's auction, and so I hope everyone today will be able to see an item they will want to buy." The elder paused for a moment to clear his throat once more before continuing to speak. "This year the Phoenix Auction Manor has seen its busiest year. That is because this year, we shall be auctioning off many precious items that our Phoenix Auction Manor has already announced and many more that we just acquired. Trust me, even this old man has only heard about some of these items only in legends. I hope you've brought your pay cubes with you." The old man joked as a small tremor of laughter reverberated through the hall. What these items are, I am sure many people here are already aware of. So I will not waste any more time describing them, but I will give you a detailed explanation about the new items to the best of my knowledge. When the elder was speaking, he had used his archforce to magnify his voice so that everyone in the auction hall would be able to hear it. The old man continued to explain the rules without stopping. "What a talker! Hurry up and start the auction. Yeah, I'm going to fall asleep." Many people couldn't take it anymore as they began to shout at the old man. But the old man did not give a shit until he preached every single rule about the auction. "Alright, I think everyone should have a clear understanding of the rules now. Let the auction begin." At the sound of the elder's words, 10 men suddenly walked toward the stand, encircling it. Their eyes stared coldly at the audience as if showing off their positions as bodyguards. Finally, Michael stopped playing with Nightmare to take part in the auction. That's going to give him something interesting. Keep guessing, my dear readers. Keep guessing. I can give you a clue. Abyssal. Chapter 210. Honored guests, we shall now auction away the first item. What this hidden item is, I will reveal it to you now. With that, the old man extended his arm to grab the cloth and abruptly tore it away to reveal a small vial bottle. Inside the small vial, a silver liquid glowed, lighting the entire stage with its light. The very first item is the Radiant Soul Healer. For the honored guests who are unfamiliar with this item, it is hard to come by medicine that has the healing effect of 100 high-quality healing potions combined. As its name suggests, it could not only heal physical wounds, but it could also heal any soul damages to a certain point. The starting price of the miraculous once-in-a-lifetime item has the starting price of 50,000 gold coins. Minimum 5,000 increase per new bid. You may begin bidding. 55,000 gold coins. 60,000 gold coins. 70,000. 75,000 coins. Just as the host finished speaking, the people in the audience immediately started to fight over the Radiant Soul Healer. This potion was indeed superior in every way compared to the healing potion Michael brews. This potion required extremely rare herbs to brew. He could make more gold coins by selling normal healing potions than searching for these rare herbs, which was a waste of time in his opinion. Of course, he could always buy the herbs from the system store, except the system's price for each herb was ridiculously high. As Michael sat and watched the people around him fight for the medicine, there was a faint smile on his face. He realized this auction is going to make him richer than he was initially expecting. After a fierce battle, the bottle of Radiant Healing Potion was sold to the highest bidder for a price of 95,000 gold coins. The whole audience became silent for a few moments after the first item. Everyone stared at the auction stage, waiting for Goran to bring out the next auction item. Surprisingly, the old man didn't give another long-winded speech or any description about the item. Instead, he just pulled away the cloth, revealing a glowing long sword. The long sword was constantly producing a buzzing sound, and it was trembling from within to escape the glass box. Many people could identify that it was a rare weapon with a single glance. Any weapon that was above uncommon class was extremely scarce and expensive in the Elon continent because, in the Elon continent, there were only a handful of blacksmiths who reached 3-star or star levels above it. That handful of blacksmiths rarely sold anything they made in auctions like these, since they all tend to sell the weapons to only a certain people they wish to. Therefore, it was very difficult for a rogue cultivator or one who doesn't have a powerful background to obtain a rare weapon. The last time Michael saw these weapons in action was at Nether Realm. They were quite powerful, yet he wasn't interested in them as the people sitting downstairs. This is a rare weapon, and the starting price is 100,000 gold coins. Each new bid must be increased by 10,000 coins. Do I have 110,000? 110, 120, 000 coins. The audience sitting downstairs kept bidding. Some people had earned quite a lot of money during many trade fairs around the continent, and they didn't have a rare weapon. Therefore, they wanted to buy one now. The auction house did, after all, have to consider everyone's feelings. If the entire auction was all about exceptional and precious items that only people in VIP rooms could afford, those people downstairs would only be bystanders. Hence, the auction started auctioning some ordinary items. It also served to make the atmosphere livelier. The special guests on the second floor were all quiet. They didn't pay any attention to the sword. They knew that the auction had just started, and the items shown at the initial stage would just be some ordinary items. The real deal would appear later. Noah, why aren't you bidding? Michael was surprised to see Noah, Alicia, the golden Babaru named Norvin, and Maisie, the little girl who tried to take Nightmare for herself in the Nether Realm. He felt Nightmare's body heat rising looking at the mirror in his hands. So they are also here, Michael thought. He kinda expected to see familiar faces like them. After all, this was a major event in the Elon continent. I don't want another rare weapon, Noah waved off Norvin. In the auction hall, a rogue warrior won the rare weapon for 200,000 gold coins. This was basically the standard price for an ordinary rare weapon. There were, after all, different qualities amongst all rare weapons. For example, a rare weapon forged by a 5-star blacksmith would be far more superior and powerful than a rare weapon forged by a 4-star blacksmith. There was nothing special about the next items. They were all some rare category spells and some ordinary pills. The auction continued for nearly an hour, but none of the special guests on the second floor had started bidding yet. On the other hand, the atmosphere downstairs had become heated. All the warriors were yelling and shouting their bids. People began to fight over item after item, especially for the ones that were rare and very hard to come by. Among all of these items, not a single one of them interested Michael or Noah. All right, all the previous treasures were mere appetizers. Next up will be the real deals. Everyone, Please hold your breath. Try and guess what this is. The host suddenly stopped speaking as his eyes swept over the audience. Almost as if everyone was one huge collective consciousness, the whole audience concentrated on the stand in front of the old man. Compared to the other stands, this stand took up a lot of space on the stage. The old man smiled, walking beside the stand. The old man looked small standing near the cloth-covered stand. The stand was at least 7 foot tall and 10 feet wide. If we received this item earlier, we would have promoted it just as we did to the epic class spells, the audience gasped. Through the mirror, Michael could see even the VIPs standing straight taking an interest in the item. He too wasn't an exception. There was a huge red cloth covering whatever was inside, making it so that no one could see what was underneath it. However, a huge protrusion underneath the cloth allowed many people to guess just what was being hidden. Everyone in the auction hall had their eyes glued to the red cloth-covered thing. As the old man slowly took the black cloth away, the hidden object underneath was finally revealed to the eagerly anticipating crowd. Underneath was only the pitch-black colored body of a magical beast that weirdly resembled the Tyrannosaurus Rex. A few of the closer and more observant guests could clearly see the small black wings on the back of the magical beast. This magical beast was just quietly lying inside the cage, completely still. Its body was about 9 feet long, 6 foot tall. This was when the beast was lying, not when standing on its 4 legs. If it was standing, it would be at least 12 foot tall. Don't tell me that this is the fusion stage magical beast. Fusion stage magical beasts actually look like this? It's clearly dead, but how could it still radiate arch energy? Today is the day that I finally got to see a fusion stage magical beast. It really is a fusion stage magical beast's carcass. It seems like a blackwing saurus. Human. We must get this corpse no matter what. He heard Gaia's voice through the earbud. She sounded extremely excited. Definitely someone from your end will get this. Just make sure you know who. He could tell she was suppressing her voice so no one near her would hear her. It was no secret to Michael that if a cultivator and a magical beast of the same stage fought, most of the time, odds were at the side of the magical beast because the magical beast has a tougher body, more resistance to spell damage, and innate abilities. Magical beasts were also very different from humans, as they would usually stick to their own areas instead of strolling out and about. If they did come across any humans, those humans would surely die. He knew how powerful a fusion stage cultivator could be after traveling with Layla. If it wasn't for the system leaving a mark in her soul that prevented her from hurting him, he would have shred to pieces in a blink of an eye when she attacked him. She was the most powerful cultivator he had ever met since he came to this world. A few Vina notes from her could kill 100 core formation warriors in a few mere moments. So he was able to imagine what damage a fusion stage beast could do. After the fusion stage magical beast was revealed, the originally quiet auction house instantly buzzed to life. Everyone's gazes gathered on the fusion stage magical beast's body lying on the stage. The sounds of intense discussion and gasps of amazement overlapped ceaselessly. Among the people present, quite a few had lived for dozens of years, yet had never seen a fusion stage magical beast before now. Ladies and gentlemen, suddenly, the old man's voice spread throughout the entire auction house. After these words, the loud and chaotic auction house gradually calmed down. The old man standing on the stage smiled as he looked at the hundreds of thousands of people attending the auction and loudly declared, "Ladies and gentlemen, this magical beast in front of me is indeed the fusion stage magical beast Blackwingsaurus. Although it has already lost its monster core, it is still a treasure. I'm sure that everyone sitting here knows that eating a fusion stage magical beast's meat for a long period of time will not only strengthen your body but will also improve your cultivation speed. A talented blacksmith could forge powerful weapons and items using the skin and bones of the magical beast. Don't forget that consuming a potion or pill made using the parts of this beast would significantly decrease the chances of meeting bottlenecks in your cultivation journey. However, what I'm going to tell you next is what makes this magical beast truly special, including Michael. Everyone was on the edge of their seats expecting the old man's next words. Many people in this world had reached the end of their lives trying to break the bottlenecks between two cultivation stages. The chances of meeting bottlenecks after breaking through to the core formation stage were higher than any other stage. Because of this, many were stuck on the core formation stage, trying desperately to break the bottleneck to reach the next stage. Although the chances of stumbling upon a bottleneck at the core formation stage were higher, it doesn't mean there are no bottlenecks in the stages after core formation. The skin of this Blackwing Saurus can withstand a tremendous amount of damage. Even our warriors and mages of the core strengthening stage couldn't cut through the skin, and they attacked with rare class spells and weapons. After hearing the host's last sentence, the originally calm auction house once again burst into a clamor. Everyone was staring intently at the fusion stage magical beast on the stage, filled with feelings of desire and greed. At this time, everyone imagined one thing: an armor made of Blackwing Saurus skin that could make them nearly invincible before a freaking core strengthening stage cultivator. Chapter 211. The very next moment, the host's voice resonated through the air once more. Right now, the Blackwing Saurus will be auctioned. The starting bid is 300,000 gold coins. Every time a new bid is proposed, it must be at least 10,000 gold coins higher than the previous bid. I bid 310,000 gold coins. As soon as the host finished his declaration, a bid was immediately heard from one of the VIP rooms. 320,000 gold coins. A voice from another VIP room declared. 330, 350, 000 coins. 400, 000, one after another. Frighteningly high bids rang out from the VIP rooms in the auction house. Currently, none of the people sitting in the general area of the auction house could interject. If one wanted to purchase the Blackwing Saurus, they not only had to have enough money, they also had to have a certain amount of strength. Otherwise, as soon as they left the auction house, the Blackwing Saurus would get stolen from them. That's why the people fighting over the Blackwing Saurus right now had to have reached a certain level of power, and were not at all concerned about it being stolen from them. 500,000 coins. The fight over the Blackwing Saurus was extremely intense. In just the blink of an eye, the price had already risen to the astronomical value of 500,000 gold coins. Moreover, it was still rising without showing any signs of stopping. 600,000 gold coins. This Blackwing Saurus will be our Foxlows. If anyone dares to fight us for it, they'll make the entire Foxlow clan their enemy. A deep voice echoed from one of the VIP rooms. Its tone was extremely arrogant, and it was evident that the person was determined to win. Foxlow clan? As in Kingdom Dreidel's Foxlow clan? It's actually the Foxlow clan. They're Kingdom Dreidel's #1 clan and are extremely powerful. Even the Kingdom Dreidel's lord is extremely courteous to the Foxlow clan. I didn't think that they'd come to attend this event. Hearing the words, Foxlow clan, the auction house immediately buzzed with conversation. Although the Foxlow clan was not a superpower of Kingdom Dreidel, their relationship with the King of Dreidel and the important noble families of Dreidel gave them enough power to become an influential house there. Haha, Foxlow clan's people, you can't say that. This place is an auction house. No matter what, it will go to the highest bidder. Our House Fisher will bid 1,000,000 gold coins. This Blackwing Saurus will be ours for sure. A slightly aged voice rang out from the opposite VIP room in response to the Foxlow clan member. Isn't the House Fisher a power from royal land? The House Fisher is extremely low profile. Even the royal family of royal land avoids clashes with House Fisher. Yeah? I remember a few years back, one of the rich, spoiled princes offended a young miss of the House Fisher, and the prince was mercilessly beaten by the Miss bodyguards. Everyone thought the royal family would be outraged at House Fisher, but instead, the royal family issued an apology notice to House Fisher. No shit. It said that the House Fisher is actually the strongest family in royal land. However, because they're extremely low-key, they normally don't show themselves, to the point where some people have never even heard of them. You're absolutely correct. I wasn't aware of them until I went to Morningstar and met Alex Fisher. House Fisher? Isn't Selena's boyfriend's name Alex Fisher? Michael thought after the little quarrel among the VIPs. After the House Fisher had spoken, the only sounds heard were of a few people discussing among themselves. For a while, nobody else bid. Even the previously determined Foxlow clan had suddenly fallen mute in a period of hesitation. Royal Land, House Fisher. Michael took a mental note of this family. Based on the scene unfolding in front of him, He could already see that the house fisher was quite powerful. After a moment of silence, an extremely energetic, middle-aged man finally said from within another box, "Haha, I didn't think that the house fisher would be so interested in this Blackwing Saurus. In that case, our house Oswin won't enter this fight over this magical beast. I hope that the house fisher will return the favor by not bidding for the next item. Haha, of course. We won't participate in the battle over the next one." The slightly aged voice from the house fisher could be heard once more, this time with a hint of a smile in his tone. "In that case, our house Oswin won't bid for this Blackwing Saurus. Our Morningstar sect will also give up on it." After House Fisher's declaration, powers that weren't at all weak began to give up on the fight over the Blackwing Saurus one after another, giving the House Fisher some face. "Hee. I thank everyone for House Fisher." An elder from the House Fisher laughed gently. "Human, don't bid. Well, take the beast in some other ways." Michael heard Gaia's voice. He wanted to screw them by bidding for the beast, but he chose not to because this was not the time nor the place to make a powerful enemy for the sake of petty grudge against Alex and Selena. Besides, as Gaia said, they could always steal the Blackwing Saurus from them. After everyone stopped bidding for the beast, the Blackwing Saurus was given to the House Fisher for the successful bid of 1 million gold coins. "We shall now proceed to auction the next item. Bring it up." This time the old man lifted the cloth to reveal an old worn-out spell scroll. "This is one of the epic spells you've all been waiting for. This spell will let the caster conjure a storm around the position of the caster. The storm will last for 2 full minutes. It can obliterate even a group core-strengthening cultivators and heavily wound a soul-refining cultivator." The people in both downstairs and the VIP rooms gasped in shock as the host continued. "For the obvious reasons, we cannot let one of our mages cast the spell. But you can imagine its power from what I just said. For 2 whole minutes, you'll be a god of thunder. The starting price is 500,000 gold coins, with each minimal bid being 20,000 gold coins more." As soon as the host finished talking, a frightening amount of prices started to be called out from the audience. Perhaps it was because this was one of the epic class spells. Everyone started to battle it out even more intensely than before they did for the Blackwing Saurus. Quickly, the original price of 500,000 had reached up to triple its amount. 5 million. 6 million inch. In a few moments, the price of the spell had reached a price of 6 million. Hearing the endlessly increasing price of gold coins, the seated Michael couldn't help signing. His total wealth was only 5 million, but these families were willing to spend millions to acquire a spell scroll. Even if he wanted to get this spell, now he simply couldn't. The House Oswin bids 65 million. The Foxlow clan bids 7 million. The Golden Valley bids 73 million. The prices continued to increase as many sides continued to fight bitterly over this spell, and they increased the bid by more than 20,000 gold coins each time. Quickly, the Blackwing Saurus had surpassed the 8 million coins mark. The Foxlow clan bids 9 million gold coins. Immediately, the Foxlow clan offered the high price of 9 million gold coins, making many gasps for air in shock. An epic spell was extremely rare in Elon Continent, and any single epic spell could make a cultivator dangerously powerful, even if the cultivator wasn't at higher stages of cultivation. Even the superpowers in Elon didn't have more than a couple of epic spells under their belt, and adding one more than their rival would always give them the edge. Hence, the superpowers went all in for the spell. Before the auction house could resume its price war, another voice called out, "The House Oswin bids 2 million. The House Oswin had one-upped the pressure on the Foxlow clan. Bang! Then suddenly, another sound came out from the Foxlow clan box. Michael saw there are a total of 5 middle-aged men and an elder sitting in the Foxlow clan VIP box. One of the middle-aged men dressed in a white robe heavily slammed his fist on the wooden table in front of him, creating an indent in it. "House Oswin, you dare to compete with us, the Foxlow clan? Fine, we'll make you regret it," the white-robed middle-aged man said through clenched teeth, a dark expression on his face. The other people had unsightly expressions on their faces. "If we continue fighting like this, I'm afraid that the epic spell price will clamber up to a point that even we cannot reach. the elder said with a downcast expression. What other choice do we have? This fucking spell has attracted quite a few people. Now, all the powers still fighting over it aren't any weaker than our clan. The white-robed, middle-aged man said in exasperation. 1 million at this moment, another voice declared a price. Seeing the price climb higher and higher, the expressions of the few people from the Foxlow clan became more and more unsightly. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed fiercely, and he shouted, Foxlow clan bids 2 million inch Jesus Christ. I should start planning to rob these people, Michael thought, raising his brows. Only if the host has adventured out more, you could have found a subordinate with a forger trait. Then, you would have been able to forge a spell to make a shitload of gold coins. The system scolded Michael. Its voice was not at all friendly. In fact, it sounded extremely annoyed. The VIPs continued to fight for the epic spell until House Oswin won the spell for a whopping 5 million gold coins. Although Michael was jealous of their wealth, he was also happy thinking that his herbs had the chance to sell for more than he had been expecting. After the Blackwing Saurus and the epic spell, everyone was at the edge of their seats waiting for the next item. Many couldn't sit still without craning their heads to scan the stage. Something's wrong. Michael could see the genuine smile on the old man's face disappear as it was being replaced by a fake one, almost as if he was trying to smile and look calm. The old man walked to the stand, which was not as big as the Blackwing Saurus. Oh, come on. Show us the item. Yeah, show us. The people downstairs began to shout at the old man's sloth-like movements. Finally, with a small sigh, the old man removed the cloth to reveal nothing but a round pebble. What the fuck? I've been thinking about releasing 2 chapters a day and creating a 10-chapter privilege for 470 coins. If you show me your support by leaving chapter comments saying go for it, author I'll get straight to work. Chapter 212. When everyone looked at the round rock, they were taken aback by surprise because it radiated only the amount of energy a normal rock on the streets would. The rock had a grayish outside, and no matter how close the people looked at it, they couldn't guess what's special about the rock. A demon soul, Michael, the system said with a sliver of surprise in its voice. A demon soul? This world has demons too? No. A demon is an extraterrestrial being. The system's level is too low to explain the origins of demons. Thought so, he sighed. However, acquiring this item would earn the host a demon subordinate with 100%. Michael's previously disappointed face lit up brightly by the system's words. Yet, he was with the system long enough to know that there must be a catch behind this tempting offer. He couldn't sense any traps from the system's voice, but he knew for sure. Of course, you have to pay the system to bring the demon soul back to life from its long slumber. I'm not even a bit surprised. Just name the price, 15,000 badass points. So that rock is really a demon soul? He wasn't surprised about the price, but he was still surprised about the fact that stone is a demon soul. No, that's just a rock from space. The demon soul is inside the rock. Only the system is capable of extracting the demon soul from the rock and bringing to life, the system proudly said as it almost sounded like brag to Michael. So cliché, you know. A useless-looking thing in the auction ended up being the most op thing. It's not cliché if no one in the entire world, including the main character, couldn't use the item. You think I'm the main character in this world? He chuckled. With the system, it's the host's choice to be either a hero or a villain to this world. Now go and get the demon soul. Geez, you're so demanding. He exited the system with an amused smile. Looking at the rock on the stage and recalling the system's words about 100% loyal subordinates, he felt extremely excited as he rubbed his palms together. Everyone, our appraising team has found that this is a primordial rock. As most of you know, anything that dates back to billion years is called primordial, also known as the era of gods. Anything that belongs to that era is extremely valuable and powerful. Although you're only witnessing a sliver of energy radiation, our appraisal team is confident that with enough time, one can bring out the true potential of this primordial rock. So you guys found nothing? Someone from downstairs shouted at the host. I never heard someone try to make a rock sound so special. Gaia, go for the rock. He put his hand on his right ear. ordering Gaia to bid on the rock. The fuck are you talking about? That's just a fucking rock. She growled, but she focused all her senses on the rock to see if there's something special about the rock. So did Nightmare. Alright, if you're interested in that rock, it must be special, though I don't see anything special. But why aren't you bidding? Because I'm in a VIP room. If I bid on the rock, the other VIPs would think it must be something special and start bidding, but if someone from the downstairs bid, they wouldn't go for it. Plus, they would think you're just stupid and you are. Nightmare placed his little mouth near Michael's ear and spoke. I'll strangle you, lizard. The starting bid for this primordial rock is 20,000 gold coins. Each new bid must be increased by 500 gold coins. The old man himself wouldn't buy this rock. However, it came from the personal collection of Julius, so he believed it must be something special. Fuck it. 25,000, Gaia shouted from downstairs. Huh? Who is this girl? Why is she bidding on a rock? Gaia tried not to react to the comments coming from all directions. She noticed the host himself raising his brows for a second before wiping off the surprised look from his face. 30,000, surprisingly, another gentle yet cold voice sounded from one of the VIP rooms. Michael frowned as he recognized this voice in a blink of an eye. Who is that? Nightmare asked, looking at the white-clothed beauty in the mirror in Michael's hands. Alicia, 35, Gaia shouted, gritting her teeth. Just like Michael, she too recognized the voice. Gaia wanted to jump out of the auction and strangle Alicia to death because by bidding from the VIP room, she just spoiled their plan. The host must get the item from himself before someone messes with the rock. Any energy disruptions would kill the demon soul inside. Alicia, why are you bidding on that rock? Noah asked while Gaia and Alicia were fighting for the rock. Something tells me that's not a normal rock. Stop, that's just a rock, Noah said as Michael heaved a sigh of relief. Noah wasn't wrong about the rock. The system itself told Michael that only it could bring the demon soul back to life from the rock and no one else could do it. If Noah started bidding for the rock, it would have shaken Michael's core because it could mean that Noah too has a system. However, now Michael was absolutely positive that Noah doesn't have a system. Someone else having a system would have screwed Michael's plan big time. 45,000, this time it wasn't Alicia or Gaia who bid but someone from the House Oswin. This was why Michael didn't bid, as the VIPs were starting to bid for the rock. The noble houses like Oswin were too rich, as they could spend even 100,000 or more gold coins to buy the rock just to make sure whether it's something special or not. Alicia, don't bid for the rock. We are thinking about recruiting someone from the Oswin family to the Guardians, so I would prefer if you don't offend them for a simple rock. Michael's face darkened, realizing they are going to hike up the price. However, he couldn't simply let go of this item. He prepared to go to any lengths to get an item that was recommended by the system. You will pay for this, bitch, he gritted his teeth, looking at Alicia in the mirror. 50,000, Gaia raised her hand. After House Oswin began to bid, no one dared to laugh at the bidding anymore, except for the host who was standing on the stage with a wide grin on his face. 100,000, the elder from House Oswin doubled the bid as the people gasped again, shocked by their wealth. 105,000, Gaia was infuriated but never doubled or passed the 5,000 gold coins mark. 150. One could say that the elder is starting to be annoyed by Gaia. Girl, stop bidding. You're not going to get that rock. One of the elders from House Oswin's VIP room laughed at Gaia. Old fucker. I'm going to get that rock and shove it up your grandma's ass. For a moment, everything stopped moving after her words resounded through the hall. The people were dumbstruck as their jaws almost dropped to the ground. What are you doing? Michael quickly asked. He was struggling to decide whether to laugh or knock her on the head for her bad mouth. I know these fucks. Let me deal with this, she hushed Michael as he decided to let her take the lead with this. He knew she could take care of herself, and after getting the rock, they could just teleport away from Ice Fair. Considering there was a no fight inside the auction manor rule, House Oswin had to wait for them outside, but she could just change her face to escape their wrath. Unless House Oswin brought a soul refiner or anyone above the soul refining stage, no one could see through her mask. How dare you? The elders of House Oswin shouted as loud as they could in boiling anger. Their faces turned blood red as Michael saw one of them punch the table in front of him to pieces. 155,000. Gaia placed her bid, ignoring the shouts. "Girl, what are you doing? They are going to kill you," an old man sitting beside Gaia warned her. "Oh my God! Who is this girl? She's dead. No one disrespected a noble house like that in public like this. They are going to kill her." Yes, this is why I love auctions. Some felt afraid while many felt excited thinking about the upcoming killing. That girl is just a body refining stage cultivator. Why did she provoke them like that? 100 and SI dash. "So you old fucks want the rock for yourselves to shove it up your old asses?" Before the elder could place the next bid, Gaia interrupted his words by provoking them. Again, the whole hall went into death silence. "I'll kill you." Gentlemen, the host felt pity for Gaia as he knew they were going to kill her, but when he saw the House Oswin was trying to start a fight, he interjected to enforce the law. "Remember the rules, you can settle your scores outside the Phoenix Manor premise. And young miss, please be respectful towards your elders. Unless there's a rule saying be respectful towards the elders inside Phoenix Manor auction house. Shut the fuck up and do your job." The old man quickly shut his mouth. He had no replies as there was really no rule mentioning that participants must be respectful towards anyone. Again, they never came across provoking like this in the past. 155,000 once. "You are dead, you hear me? You are fucking dead." An elder screamed from his room. 100 dash. You must love shoving rocks up your asses so much. Just when the elders were about to place the bid, she provoked them again. 155,000 twice. "Shut up, old fucks, or I'll keep dragging your fucking family's respect through the mud." She stood up from her chair, showing her middle fingers at House Oswin's VIP room. She then turned her gaze at the host. "What are you waiting for? Sell the rock to me before I find a stick to beat your old ass." Chapter 213. 155,000 going thrice. Sold to the girl with number 21. Finally, Michael heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for the mask, what Gaia did would have brought a calamity upon them. Thanks to the system, she only had to get the rock from the auction house, change her face somewhere private, and simply walk out of the auction house with him. "Good, we will take the primordial stone from her dead body after our men took turns with her. Not before I fuck all your women to death without even standing up." She just showed them the middle finger looking at the rock on the stage. "Who is this girl?" "Noah, I think you found your match in provoking nobles, the golden Babaru." Norvin laughed. "For a change, it's not going to be us running for our lives," Alicia said coldly. "I've never seen a stupid girl like her before," Norvin said, munching on an apple. "Unless she has a way to escape." Noah didn't think of the foul-mouthed girl as being stupid. On the contrary, he could sense she definitely has a way to escape. The next item we are going to reveal will be something that you can buy nowhere else. This is a must-buy for alchemists, but it doesn't mean warriors have no use for them. On the contrary, any alchemist regardless of their star rank could create miraculous pills and potions with these. The old man slowly pulled the red cloth of another stand to reveal a basket with silk apples and various rare herbs in it. This basket contains 5 4,000-years-old silk apples, 2,000-years-old lake petal, 2 3,000-years-old void chervil, and 5 4,000-years-old queen grass. Every single herb is extremely fresh and retains all its medicinal qualities. Numerous outcries sounded within the auction ground when they heard the names of the herbs. Even those who weren't familiar with the herb's uses knew that anything so old must be extremely rare and valuable. Those who were alchemists or familiar with alchemy felt a chill running through the spines as their bodies shivered. Every single herb the host named was a legendary herb that could be used to make powerful potions and pills. They also knew that these herbs only grew in places that many didn't dare to go. "Are you interested?" Alicia saw Noah suddenly sit up straight. She guessed that since Noah himself is a 3-star alchemist, he must be thinking to get the herbs for himself. Juicy Norvin drooled, staring at the silk apples. His eyes sparkled as he involuntarily reached his hands out at the apples. Noah's eyes stared intently at the basket. A wide grin appeared on his face. "Finally something interesting. Host Gorin, You must tell us where these herbs came from, considering each herb's medicinal quality is influenced by the place they grew. An alchemist has to know about the birthplace of the herb. Michael saw a youngster in forest green winter robes. Behind the youngster was a group of youngsters of his same age wearing the same forest green robes. The old man knew the question came from one of the disciples of alchemy King Gabriel himself. The appraisers had already given him a couple of places these might have come from, but before he could give the names, another calm voice appeared from another VIP room. They are from the treacherous ocean. The mere mention of the name treacherous ocean made everyone gasp in shock. Many turned their heads in the direction of the voice. They couldn't see through the glass to identify the person who just answered. How do you know? The disciples asked from his VIP room. Because I picked them from there, as he said. He retrieved the laser he used in the process of making spiders. He then used the laser to cut a small round in the glass. Everyone was speechlessly staring at the round forming up in the mirror. Because the second floor was built in an open square shape, except for a few VIPs, the rest of them could see the hole along with everyone downstairs. Soon, a little dragon came through the hole carrying a silk apple in its claws. It flew straight to the stage where it hovered above the old man's head. A dragon! Oh my God! Look at its claws. It's carrying a silk apple. Who is this person? Many mumbled among themselves. The entire auction was paused by the sudden change of events. At the moment, every pair of eyes gawking between the dragon and the VIP room it came from. Ghost? Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,600 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 4,500 badass points. He certainly knows how to make an entrance without showing himself, Norvin said as Maisie. The little girl stared at the dragon without batting an eye. Her eyes slightly welled up. Alicia gently patted the little girl on the head. Human, what are you doing? Gaia asked. Promoting ourselves, and if we are lucky, we might end up making friends with some of the noble houses here. Or enemies, she replied. They are the same, Nightmare said, and dropped the apple as the old man quickly caught the apple. They saw the little dragon flying back to the VIP room with open mouths. Our appraisers did find out that these herbs could have come from the treacherous ocean, and now we have confirmation from a 5-star alchemist, the ghost of Rivertown himself. It's an honor to have you as our guest, young Master Ghost. The old man bowed in the direction of Michael's VIP room. He was old enough to understand why he revealed himself. He said he picked it from the treacherous ocean. Did he venture into the treacherous ocean? Oh my God, he must have, holy shit. Including the elders sitting in the VIP room became restless, realizing the meaning of Michael's previous words. Totally worth it, the badass points kept increasing without slowing down. Put a wide grin on Michael's face. He was grateful for the disciples who asked a question that provided him with an opportunity to make an entrance. So he's here. Noah stared at Michael's VIP room. Ever since he was born, he never felt in debt to someone else other than his father and mother. However, for the first time, he felt indebted to Ghost after he heard how Ghost saved not only his sister but also his mother. When he heard everything that happened while he was away, he was shaken to the core. Noah couldn't even imagine what could have happened to his family if it wasn't for Ghost. Despite his slight disapproval of Ghost for being selfish and using his talents to make money instead of helping others, he wanted to thank him. Noah heard from Peyton how he used the Netheril attack in Rivertown to his own advantage. If it was Noah, he would have given all the healing potion for free to those who were hurt instead of using their misery to make money. Moreover, although Noah knew he didn't steal the dragon like Maisie was complaining, his fondness for the little girl made him take a dim view of Ghost furthermore. Regardless of what he thinks of Ghost, Noah knew one thing for certain. If it wasn't for Ghost, his family would have been torn apart. For saving his family, he wanted to thank him regardless of Peyton's strong disagreement. The starting price of the treasure basket is 400,000 gold coins. Any increase in the bid must not be less than 20,000. The old man smiled and spoke. He glanced at the auction grounds where private conversations had erupted. "So, everyone, please place your bid." The expression of the old man did not change when faced with this completely silent situation. A warm smile remained on his face as he knew the VIPs would throw their gold coins to acquire these precious herbs, especially the disciples of Gabriel. For 150,000, the silence continued for around half a minute before it was broken by a bid that was transmitted from one of the VIP rooms. This bidding price had just sounded when it appeared to have triggered a chain reaction. Bids were cried out one after another. Within less than a couple of seconds, the price was raised to 700,000. "Gaia, increase the price. Are you sure?" "Yeah. I'll monitor the VIP rooms and let you know when to stop." 800,000. "Shit, it's that girl again." All right, I want curse," she added before some nobles might back off, afraid of her bad-mouthing their family. After all, even if they did kill her, the rival families must use this to ridicule them for years. However, after hearing that she want curse, the VIPs somewhat felt relieved while many in the downstairs felt disappointed. 850,000. Noah placed the bid. The sudden leap in price immediately caused an uproar to resound across the entire auction. Michael was happy and shocked at the same time. He knew Noah's family was not a superpower, but still, Noah seemed loaded. Compared to Michael, Noah did have way too many enemies, but he also killed many and their pay cubes ended up inside Noah's space ring. Plus, he had the financial backing of the Guardian Guild, Zanali, and Alicia. "I need those herbs no matter the price." Noah's words put a smile on Michael's face as he gave the signal to Gaia to increase the bid. 880,000, 900,000 gold coins. House Fisher. 950,000 gold coins. The noble houses began to start using the house names to intimidate, but Michael knew Noah would back off, and it worked in his favor. Chapter 214. House Kane bids 1 million gold coins for the first time since the auction started. House Kane entered the bidding war for the herbs. House Kane, huh? Michael recalled meeting Adam Kane, a prodigy of Golden Valley during Heaven's Gate competition. He was one of the 4 celebrity disciples who came to judge the competition along with Alex Fisher, Selena, and Sadie. 1 million gold coins. Noah placed the bid. Humph. 2 million. Inch an elder from House Fisher harumphed before placing a bid of 2 million gold coins. 1 million. Gaia raised the bid by 200,000 after getting the signal from Michael. Sitting in his VIP room, he had no time to be happy about the ongoing bidding war as he kept monitoring each and every VIP room, trying to learn their highest bidding point. 6 million. An elder from the House Kane room bid once again, and he increased the bid with another 200,000, causing the auction site to become intense. 6 million. Those noble houses are filthy rich. House Kane and House Fisher are always at their throats in royal land. Although their rivalry runs deep, they never entered into an all-out war. An auction place is one of the few places they could fight head-to-head without risking a war. "We're gonna be so rich," Nightmare laughed happily looking at the bidding war. So House Kane finally decided to join he? An elder from House Fisher teased the elders in House Kane's room. Michael stopped jumping between the VIP rooms and focused on the quarrel between House Kane and House Fisher. Because of Selena, it was inevitable that he would fight Alex Fisher. At that time, House Fisher may have become his enemy, but if there was an enmity between House Kane and House Fisher, he could exploit it to become House Kane's ally. "We rather don't join than begging other houses to back down." Humph. 2 million. Inch the elder of House Fisher's voice became angrier after House Kane ridiculed them about the earlier event where House Fisher asked House Oswin to back down from bidding for Blackwing Saurus. After calling out his bid, House Fisher elder continued, "Let's see who has the balls to bid against us." 5 million. Inch. Even before the elder could close his mouth, Gaia raised the bid by another 500,000 gold coins. Many people watching this scene turned their gazes at Gaia, who shouted at the host, "What the fuck are you waiting for? Is this the way the Great Phoenix Auction Manor does things? How could you let these old fucks bully people not to bid? Shouldn't this be a fair auction?" How can we, normal people, bid if those old fucks threatened to kill us if we did? Yeah, how could you? The girl's right. The Phoenix auction manor should condone actions such as this. Almost everyone in the downstairs started to yell and throw their shoes at the old man. Seeing this, the old man's friendly smile was replaced with a cold expression. He immediately said, "Attention, friend from the House Fisher. This is a fair auction. You can't disturb other people's decision usually. The Phoenix auction manor would let the noble houses fight or bully others because the Phoenix manor valued gold coins more than the happiness of people downstairs. End of the day, bullies brought more coins than the bullied." This was the first time a girl from the downstairs almost riled up the crowd to this point. House Fisher bid 3 million as the elders did not hear the old man's words. They placed the next bid, but the people downstairs were somewhat calmed down. After seeing Gaia returning to her seat, many followed her lead to continue to enjoy the bidding war. We have a 3 million bids. This is a once-in-lifetime opportunity. If you miss it, you're going to regret it for the rest of your lives. Does anyone have a higher bid? The old man asked. When he found out that no one else wanted to bid any higher, his face contained a smile. As a qualified auctioneer, he clearly knew that this basket full of legendary herbs and silk apples would at least reach 5 million. But, because of House Fisher's threatening words, no one else dared bid further. This really pissed the old man off. Since no one else is bidding, I'll now announce. The Shangguan clan wins this for 4 million. Before the old man could finish speaking, a calm voice sounded out from Noah's room. The old man was startled for a moment. Then he immediately showed a joyful expression. Damn! Who is that person? He directly ramped the price up to 4 million. Incredible. I think it's Noah who bid just now. That youngster is incredibly overbearing. Not only has he offended Aragoth and few other major powers, but he's also now going to offend the House Fisher. Some who recognized Noah's voice said as his words spread across the entire downstairs. He doesn't give a shit about them as he's now a member of Guardian Guild. The audience was agitated, especially when they found out that the person who bid was that young man, Noah. Haha. Good. VIP number 3 has just bid 4 million. Does anyone else have a higher bid? Anyone? The old man was laughing out loud, and his mood was instantly lightened. Within private room number 3, Noah was calmly sitting on the sofa. He didn't want any conflict to arise with House Fisher. He could let go of anything else, but not this basket of valuable herbs. The audience burst into an uproar. The entire auction hall was filled with gasps of shock. It was hard to imagine how furious House Fisher was right now. Many noble houses had just backed off, but now there were 2 reckless youngsters who stood out and fought with them. Humph! 5 million. The elder from House Fisher snickered coldly. As a superpower and proud noble house of royal land, it would be really embarrassing if they lost to either this young man or the young girl sitting downstairs. Therefore, he increased the bid by 1 million. 5 million. But, just after House Fisher bid, Noah's voice sounded out from private room 3 once again. These kids are really taking House Fisher on a ride. Michael saw the elders from House Kane laughing at House Fisher. They didn't seem like they really wanted the herbs, but rather seemed like they wanted to mess with House Fisher. Let's just join the party. 5 million. One of the elders placed the bid knowing that House Fisher would rather pay the price than losing to House Kane. The 5 million bid once again sent a storm through the audience. An even greater uproar arose in the audience. No one could remain calm any longer. Even the host who stood on the auction stage was so shocked that his mouth was wide open. 5 million gold coins had far exceeded the actual value of the herb basket. He didn't expect the price to reach such heights. Right at this moment, Noah and the young girl's image had become huge in his mind. He was starting to fall in love with them. As an auctioneer, if he could make the price of an item exceed the actual value, he would be able to get a huge reward. 5 million. Insane. This girl is insane. 5 million gold coins. How can she be so rich? And why is she sitting with us instead of in one of those VIP rooms? 9 million. Noah silenced the crowd with his bid. While looking at Noah's body language, Michael couldn't be 100% positive that he would go for higher bids. Therefore, he ordered Gaia to stand down. Michael didn't want to push his luck. It's called being filthy rich. Looks like Noah is going to get these herbs no matter what, and he doesn't even care that doing so is the same as offending the house fisher. I wonder if the house fisher will make an even higher bid. I don't think so. They aren't stupid. 9 million has exceeded the herb basket's actual value. Furthermore, they also don't know if Noah will make another bid. I don't think that foul-mouthed girl gonna go for the herbs anymore. Yeah, look at her. Two reckless youngsters stood. She's not raising her hands. The audience was heated. Everyone was discussing amongst themselves. The name Noah had once again become a hot topic. Good, very good. One of the elders of House Fisher said the word good twice, and his voice was filled with rage. Anyone could tell how angry he was, and how much he hated the young man. Noah, I guess you've managed to piss off a superpower once again after all. Norvin, the golden Babaru, laughed. The monkey couldn't take his eyes from the silk apples. On the other hand, Noah wasn't stupid, as he knew the herb basket wasn't worth the price he paid, but what the others don't know is that he has an ancient potion recipe that requires these herbs to make. Once he consumes the potion, he would certainly increase his star level in alchemy. In other words, he paid 9 million to become a 4-star alchemist. A few moments after the basket disappeared from the stage, the door to the third private room was opened. The auction house branch manager Vargas carried a silver plate in her hand as she walked into the room. On top of the plate was a golden card. What an astonishing deal, young Master Noah, she said with a beautiful smile on her face. Keep this and bring it to my room on the down floors to pay and get your item. Will do, Miss Vargas. Chapter 215. After Michael's herbs were sold to Noah, many items such as weapons, spell scrolls including an epic scroll, and artifacts were auctioned to the highest bidders. Most of the items ended up in the hands of noble houses as expected. I picked up a tail exiting the downstairs. Gaia saw a couple of bodyguards of House Oswin following her behind. I put the gold into your space ring. Just get the rock and find a place to change your face. Young Master Ghost, someone is waiting to meet you, Michael said, opening the door to see the servant boy he saw when he entered the auction house. Who? He wasn't surprised, and in fact, he was expecting someone to meet him. After all, he just showed everyone that he still has one silk apple remaining. The servant boy then took out the silk apple he gave to the host a while ago. The boy's hands were shaking as cold drops of sweat appeared on his forehead. He tried his best not to make any sudden movements. It was obvious that the boy was terrified of Nightmare regardless of Nightmare's cultivation level. Nightmare, on the other hand, just avoided making direct eye contact with the boy. The little dragon hated when people were terrified of him for no reason. On the contrary to Gaia's advice to make people fear you, Nightmare didn't enjoy making people terrified of him. The elders of House Kane and House Fisher, young master. House Kane is waiting for you in VIP Room 1 and House Fisher is in VIP Room 2. If you say the word, it'll lead you to them. For a few seconds, Michael just stood there calculating the pros and cons about meeting either of them for the third time in his mind. Taking a deep breath, he decided to go with what he always planned. Let's go meet House Kane first. That being said, the servant boy began to walk towards the rooms at the far end of the second floor. While he was following the boy, one of the oak doors slammed open as a group of middle-aged as well as old men stormed out of the room. Their black hair with strands of gray hair was neatly combed to the back, while some of them sported a ponytail. Michael could smell a faint fragrance of lavender and, weirdly, the smell of hair gel. All of them wore a brown long coat with a silver embodiment of a panther on their chest. On their backs hung long golden spears that kept radiating an extremely low-frequency whistling sound. I want that bitch alive. We have to make an example out of her. I've already sent the men tailing her. The moment she steps out of the auction manor premise, well, get her. In their anger, they failed to notice Michael walking past them. House Oswin, Michael thought. He noticed that all of these men were at the core strengthening stage. If Gaia was to get into trouble with them, unless she could perform a miracle, she would be captured and probably tortured to death. Good thing. She had the mask to change her face wherever she wanted. All she had to do was find the lattice restroom, change her face, put on new clothes, and walk out of the room as a new girl. They're really pissed, Nightmare commented, staring at the disappearing figures. Gradually, the sound of their boots hitting the wooden floor lessened. The servant boy didn't dare to comment on the scene, as he silently led Michael to a door that had a beautifully calligraphed number 1 was drawn on. The door was just opposite of the door that had number 2 drawn on. Young master, the boy halted his steps, gesturing at Michael to enter the room. Keep it. Michael retrieved a pouch with a few gold coins in it before throwing the pouch to the boy. Just the clinking sound of the gold coins was enough to make the nervous boy smile in excitement. Thank you, young master. The boy grinned ear to ear as Michael entered the room after giving a gentle pat on the boy's shoulder. When he entered VIP room number 1, he was welcomed by 3 elders who had the looks of an old man in his early or mid-60s. A wide fake smile was plastered on their faces. Behind those 3 elders stood 7 bulky bodyguards. The bodyguards were armed to the teeth as Michael couldn't see a part in their body that hadn't been covered by metal. Anyone with a little battle experience could tell this much armor would restrict movement speed, especially since the wearer was just at the core formation level. A naked eye could only see 10 people in the room, but Michael could see with his environmental scanning on top of his eyes. His scanning revealed that there are 5 more level 10 core formation beings hiding in the dark corners of the room as well as above him. Nightmare also noticed these hidden beings. System, you know the drill. If something goes wrong, buy a teleportation scroll and activate it. The host means buy 2 teleportation scrolls, right? One to teleport the host to subordinate Gaia and another one for teleport the both of you out of here. She can change her face and get out of here, he telepathically said to the system. Master Ghost, it's nice to finally meet a gifted youngster like you. I'm Walter Kane of House Kane, the old man with a scar across his left eye greeted Michael with a wide smile. This is Edison and Martin, my fellow elders of House Kane. He repeated the words, House Kane, with a sense of pride and glory. Edison and Martin looked like typical old men in their 60s. Nothing special about them except for the shiny letter K embroidered on their chest. Michael shook each elder's hand firmly as they gestured at him towards the sofa. Nice dragon, Elder Edison said, staring at Nightmare. His greediness could be seen in his eyes, yet the greediness quickly disappeared when his eyes fell on Michael. Yeah, got him from Nether Realm. So, elders, although it's nice to see figures such as yourselves of a proud house, I can sense there's something you wish to talk about. Not a person beating around the bush, heh? I like it, Elder Martin chuckled approvingly towards Michael's attitude of straightly getting into the business. We do have something we wish to talk to you about. But before we do that, we'd like to know more about what you said earlier, especially the part where you got the herbs from the treacherous ocean. Although Elder Walter had the decency not to show his doubt on his face, Michael could see the elder's doubt as clear as a day in their eyes. If you're thinking how the hell did a core formation guy like me survive the treacherous ocean, I didn't, at least not alone. I had the help of a fusion stage cultivator. His words immediately shocked the elders as Michael continued. I cannot reveal his name as he likes his anonymity so much. Long story short, he wanted my alchemy skills inside the treacherous ocean in return for his word to protect me. He effortlessly lied through his teeth, but as any professional liar would do, he mixed a small amount of truth into the lie to make it believable. A fusion stage cultivator, elders mumbled. After Michael's lie, the elders slightly leaned forward instead of leaning on their back as a sign of fear and respect, because anyone with a fusion stage cultivator as his friend must be treated with respect. The elders did know he might be lying or telling them the truth. Either way, they didn't want to get on the wrong side of this young man. If they did, the majority of House Kane would sacrifice them to avoid a conflict with a fusion stage cultivator. After all, these elders were not part of the main Kane family. However, it didn't mean these elders were expendable and powerless. On the contrary, these elders held quite a lot of power through connections and favors inside the family. It's just that this power wouldn't save them if they were to become a reason for a conflict with a fusion stage cultivator. How else could I get out of the treacherous ocean alive? Michael chuckled to lighten up the mood. The elders and the bodyguards also laughed with Michael. I wonder if the house fisher will also have doubts about my adventure into the treacherous ocean, he asked, playing with Nightmare by gently rubbing the little dragon's head. Well, we can find out when we meet them next door. Nightmare's words caused the elder smiles to vanish from their faces in a blink of an eye. They are waiting for you? Elder Walter asked, leaning forward. His usually calm face now seemed tensed. Yeah, but I chose to meet House Kane first. So elders, why am I here? After the elders realized that the house fisher might be looking to meet him for the same reason they did, they chose not to waste any more time asking irrelevant questions. We want to buy the silk apple and any herbs you still have. If you have any, Elder Walter said after Elder Martin. I do have 2 more silk apples and a few more herbs. I'll give them to you, but I don't want gold coins. His answer didn't put a smile on their faces. Instead, it made the elders frown. What do you want? Elder Walter asked. I want to be House Kane's friend. As you elders know, my growth is already making me quite a few enemies. I prefer to have more friends in powerful places rather than enemies. Surprisingly, Elder Walter grinned hearing Michael's words. In his old mind, he already decided to gamble on Ghost's future. Looking at Ghost's cultivation level at a young age, he was positive that Ghost would break into the half-immortal stage or even immortal stage. If House Kane were to ally with him from this stage, it would be House Kane who would make a powerful ally. Besides, allying with Ghost first would prevent House Fisher from gaining an ally like Ghost. Chapter 216. Just by meeting House Kane first instead of House Fisher, Michael may have pissed off the elders of House Fisher. After what he witnessed in the auction, House Fisher didn't seem like a family that plays by the rules and accepts a fair defeat. It was kinda obvious that if he beat Alex in the upcoming tournament, he would get into the bad side of House Fisher. Think of this as a mutually beneficial relationship. Although I might not look like someone who could help the great House Kane, I think you elders know my potential. The elders were surprised to see him speak what's in their minds. If anyone else tried to become their friends by trading these herbs, the elders might not have accepted the deal, but when it comes to Ghost, they immediately decided to accept the deal. Don't worry, Master Ghost. House Kane always protects their friends, and you are one of them. Elder Walter stood up, reaching out his hand for a handshake. With a grin on his face, Michael shook his hand again. He then took the silk apples and herbs. We have a bright future ahead, Michael said, handing over the herbs to Elder Walter. In return, Elder Walter flicked his wrist as 2 6-feet-tall silver banners with a huge K embroidered on the middle appeared beside Michael. Keep one to yourself and place one in your sect. The banner will let everyone know that you and your sect are under the protection of House Kane. This banner thing worked in favor for both Michael and House Kane. As Elder Walter said, it would protect Michael and the sect, but it also symbolizes House Kane's relationship with Michael. These elders were definitely playing the long game by offering the banner as well as gambling on Michael's bright future. After taking over the world to himself, he might consider giving House Kane a chunk of it because of this deal. He would neither forget nor forgive his enemies, but at the same time, he would also remember his allies. All right, elders, I'll see myself out. There's no fun in letting you out of this room alone. Come on. I want to see their faces when they realize you chose House Kane over House Fisher. Ha ha ha, Elder Martin laughed out loud. He put his hand around Michael's shoulder like they were best friends. Michael didn't mind it. If he were to be seen with the elders of House Kane in a place like this, people would spread the word that he's a friend of House Kane faster. Considering he would leave for the southern continent soon, he had to make sure his sect and the herbal garden stayed safe while he was away. Coupled with the existence of Soul Refiner at Sunrise Sect and House Kane banner, no one would dare to attack them. However, contrary to their expectation, when they opened the door, they saw the door to the VIP room 2 is wide open. There was no one inside the room. Shit, bastards ran away to save themselves the shame, leaving the elders of House Kane. Michael followed the nobles to Varig's room. What took you so long? Gaia was waiting for him outside, which seemed to be Vargas' room. She was wearing new clothes and her Elia face. So, everything's okay? Yeah, those old fucks are still waiting outside the ladies' restroom. Hey. She then tossed a space ring to Michael. Noah was here before someone from the guild came to take him away. I took the token from the ring and got our coins. Thank God. Scene with him is like asking for trouble considering the number of enemies he has, he sighed in relief. The auction blessed him with millions of gold coins and a powerful ally, but if he was to be seen with Noah, it might attract the eyes of Noah's enemies towards him. Let's get out of here. They rushed out of the auction manor before House Fisher could see Michael. Plus, he was too excited to examine the primordial rock they bought. A suitable place for a runic teleportation nearby. When he stepped out of the auction house, it was already dark. The howling sound of the wind indicated to them there's a blizzard coming. Lines of carriages were waiting outside the street blanketed in snow for the nobles. Are we teleporting? Nightmare asked, looking at the weather. Oh, shit, Gaia sighed, following Michael behind. When they reached a dark alley near the auction house, she saw a golden light appear from Michael's hand before disappearing into the wall. Before she could say anything, she felt the familiar vibration as she closed her eyes. When she opened her eyes, she was welcomed by Michael's darkroom in Abyssal. I need to lie down, Nightmare stuttered as he flew towards the bed to lie down while Gaia took some deep breath, controlling the urge to throw up. As the two were fighting with the urge to throw up, Michael took out the primordial rock from his space ring. It looked no different than a normal rock on a street. You cost me 155,000 gold coins. It better be worth it, Gaia said. System, do your thing. He willed the system as the rock began to tremble. Gaia walked closer to the rock to see it's radiating a faint whistling sound as well as a dim light. Extracting demon soul. 10% completed. 11% completed. Estimated time for completion is 2 days. You never told me what's so special about this rock? There's a soul of a demon inside. Yeah, what? It took a second before she realized what he just said. A demon? What the fuck are you doing? Stop it. She tried to take the stone away from Michael's hands, but he just stopped her from doing so by wrapping his one arm over her waist. Don't worry. He whispered into her ear, sending a chill running through her spine. Getting tightly held like this froze her body and mind. They had been kissing, cuddling, and hugging for quite a long time, yet every time felt like a first time to her. Do you know anything about demons? He pulled her perfectly structured body even closer to him. Although she wasn't the type of girl to blush every single time a man touches her pinky, a red shade did appear on her cheeks. Not much. I only read about them. They are bad, her words stuttered. For the commoners, a demon was nothing but a myth. However, the great clans and kingdoms like Nagaland had records about demons that weren't just stories. Aren't we? He put the rock on the table, turning his full focus on the beautiful woman before him. We are the good kind of bad. You really know what you're doing? He could still see some concerns in her eyes, but they also contained the unwavering trust. Are you going to tell me that you learned how to bring a demon back to life from the memories of Abras? No. I'm sorry that I'm not telling you everything. I trust you with my life, Gaia, but I can't tell you. Before he could continue, she put her finger on his lips, interrupting his words. We are going to be together forever, so I'm sure that you'll find the right time to share things with me. She then took the initiative to close his lips with hers regardless of Nightmare's existence. Mama, Brother Ghost, and Sister Elia are here. Cindy screamed as loud as she could. Raylene rushed out of the kitchen to see Ghost carrying Cindy, who was carrying Nightmare in her hands. Master Ghost, Raylene shoved all of Cindy's toys, trying to make the place presentable. This house was recently built and gifted to her by the sect. Regardless of the fact this is a new home, it was filled with furniture and ornaments, courtesy of Gaia. Gaia personally decorated the house herself. The interior of the house resembled a high-end apartment. A few glass walls accompanied by white marble walls gave a majestic charm to the house. Still, it was hard for Raylene to keep the house clean due to her busy schedule. She had to go to the restaurant in Rivertown every morning to help the dwarf in the kitchen fittings, prepare food for Cindy and the children at the sect, cultivate with sect leader Claire, learn how to write and read from Elder Mark, and in the little bit of free time she had to improve her cooking skills. Of course, Gaia would come to judge her cooking by finishing all of them. Are you busy or something? Michael plunged into the sofa with Cindy in his arms. Gaia didn't sit beside him but stormed into the kitchen following the delicious smell of food. Cindy was a year older now. The baby fat in her face was slowly disappearing, but her childish behavior wasn't going anywhere. She crawled her little body into Michael's winter coat. "I was just preparing dinner for, well, everyone," she laughed. One could see the tiredness in her voice, but it was overshadowed by her happiness. Her face was brighter than usual. "Master Ghost, when are we opening the restaurant?" "About that, I want you to hook the customers of Majestic with your cooking skills." She gawked at him cluelessly as he began to explain. "A fancy building isn't going to draw the amount of crowd I want. If we are to open the restaurant with a bang, we need to spread the word of your skills to every single noble in this kingdom." "This is so good." From the kitchen, Gaia howled. It was like a blind cat got into the kitchen. The sound of utensils clashing came from the kitchen non-stop. "We need to make Elia out of every single noble," he said, letting out a sigh. Chapter 217. "What do you want me to do, Master Ghost?" "I want you to make tea and appetizers. Send them to the customers of Majestic while they were waiting for their turn. Jack and his group will take care of supplying them. By doing this, we'll get them addicted to your cooking. Then we'll have them flood towards our restaurant when we open." "Biscuits." Michael felt Cindy's body stiffening after Gaia screamed joyously from the kitchen. The little girl let go of Nightmare. "Sister Elia, those are my biscuits." "Not anymore, Cindy." Cindy completely ignored Raylene's cry, rushing towards the kitchen to save her biscuits from Gaia. "Don't forget to focus more on your cultivation, Raylene. We have a lot to do in this world." After giving a gentle pat on her shoulder, Michael left her house, leaving Gaia to finish her fight with Cindy. At this time, Raylene didn't know the full meaning of his words. Leaving Raylene's house, he calmly strolled around the sect, enjoying the peace and beauty of the winter. Nightmare flapped his wings, taking off to the sky from his shoulder. After Nightmare's departure, only the snowflakes and the howling sound of the wind accompanied him. There were no disciples present. He knew they were either cultivating or studying under the elders. Considering they now had a stable income as well as resources to cultivate, the disciples did not slack off but focused on cultivating. Except for the main headquarters, a huge library and a dome around the herbal garden Gaia was planning to build, the rest of the construction works had been completed. Now each elder had their own mansion and cultivation halls that would rival the big sects themselves. "She really has good taste, even with a limited budget." She turned this place around. One could not laugh at the sect for being too shabby anymore because this place looked anything but. Eventually, Michael came to his herbal garden to see Olivia dusting off snow from the leaves of the herbs. The green-hair beauty was too focused on her job as she completely failed to notice Michael. She was gawking between the notebook on her lap and the violet flower in her hand. The notebook was written by Michael himself. It was like a beginner's guide to Michael's alchemy knowledge. "Violet sunflower. It's so beautiful," Olivia mumbled before gently plucking the flower. "And poisonous. Ah!" She fell face first into the pile of snow in shock when she suddenly heard Michael's words from behind. Not a single soul was here to see Olivia's downfall. That made Michael chuckle. She quickly wiped off the snow from her face to see Michael laughing at her. Her face turned red in embarrassment. "Holy God's teacher, you scared the life out of me." "I did, didn't I?" He helped her up from the pile of snow before taking the notebook from her hand. "Teacher, I thought you were in seclusion." Her embarrassment quickly vanished away when her thirst for knowledge overwhelmed her senses. She had too many questions to ask him after studying the notebook. Initially, when he was ordering her to work the herbal garden with Elder Reiner, she had her doubts about his teaching methods, but when she began to read the notebook, she realized how important it was to work in the herbal garden. "I assume you have questions for me?" Just by looking at her eyes, he could tell she has so many questions for him. Her curiosity and the thirst for knowledge were so obvious on her face. "Teacher, in the notebook, you mentioned that we should use Galvan stone instead of cockatrice tear in heat-resisting potion. Can you explain why?" You know, heat-resisting potion requires galvan salt, which is found in galvan stone, right? She nodded. But galvan stone is extremely rare, hence the potion is so expensive. Galvan stone is not the only source for galvan salt. It can be found in cockatrice tear too, just in a different state. He grabbed a handful of snow from the ground. This is water in its solid form, we call this ice. Heat it up, it will become water. The greed alchemy flames emerged from his palm. Turning the ice into water, heat it more. The water will lose its liquid state and take the state of vapor. 3 states but the same element. The same goes for galvan salt. In galvan stone, the salt is in its solid state. In cockatrice tears, the salt is in its liquid state. It's indeed a bad practice to taste the ingredients, but sometimes it'll help you identify the items or herbs with the same qualities. So lick the ingredients. Noted. She quickly took a mental note before getting her a gentle knock on her head. Just get someone who could speak and has a high tolerance for toxicity. A goblin would do the trick, considering goblins could eat almost anything. They had a high tolerance for toxicity. Plus, they could be taught to speak the common tongue instead of a goblin. I hate slavery, so just pay the goblin a monthly salary or something he or she desires. He basically worked as a slave for drug dealers for a part of his childhood. They would always say they own him and the rest of the orphans. This made him hate the idea of owning another human being. Back on Earth, slavery was almost abolished except for a few dark shitty parts of the Earth, but in this world, although slavery was a crime punishable by harsh sentences, one could not say it's completely abolished. There was always someone secretly trading slaves for nobles for their sick pleasures. The law against slavery was only for people of the northern continents, which were Elon and Azer. Slavery was completely legal in the northern continents if the slaves are from the southern continent, also known as Midras. Michael only saw the glimpse of the slave trading between the northern and southern continents through what happened to Arius brothers. What they did to those brothers was beyond cruel. It gave Michael the idea of what they would do to the southern girls. Sooner or later, Michael knew he would need an army to face the great clans, and a promise to abolish slavery would get him the support of thousands of slaves across this world. If they could help him take over this world, he would end slavery once and for all. He was not naive to think that he could end slavery single-handedly without having real control over this world. For now, all he could do was not be the master of any slaves. Although he would have to sacrifice or bend some of his moral codes in the path to conquer this world, he would always try his best not to become the things he hates. Let's talk and walk. He continued to stroll around the herbal garden, answering her questions one by one. After answering every question she had, he understood which parts she must focus more on. He gave her a short lecture as well as another notebook containing more questions and assignments for her to do while he was away. Teacher, are you going into seclusion again? With this speed of cultivation, you're going to become the youngest core strengthening stage cultivator in Elon, she said, grinning ear to ear. Even with the little time she spent with him, she got years' worth of knowledge from him. Oh, teacher forgot to ask, are you competing in the alchemy tournament? How many fucking tournaments are there? He thought. When is that? A few months after the championship tournament. It will be like the championship tournament for alchemists. Unlike the championship tournament, there are no age or cultivation restrictions. Who is going to judge the tournament? Michael wasn't planning to be one of the competitors, but to be one of the judges. It would be more badass to judge the alchemists all over the world rather than competing in the tournament. What's the use of being a 5-star alchemist if he has to compete with low-star alchemists? Her face brightened seeing that her teacher is considering joining the tournament. She wants to see him compete and win the trophy, with her being his helper, of course. Will Gabriel be there to judge? Michael asked. Yes, of course, teacher. It will be a great honor for you to show your skills in front of him and other legends in alchemy. Show my skills? Michael chuckled as Olivia gawked at him, having zero clues about why he was laughing. If Gabriel will be there as a judge, so should I. It will be a good place to show who the real #1 alchemist of Elon Continent is. Chapter 218. Leaving Olivia in one of the goose houses that they built newly, Michael went straight towards Claire's home. From the outside, the mansion looked very elegant. It had been built with oak wood and had blue stone decorations. Large, triangular windows let in plenty of light and have been added to the house in a very symmetric way. The mansion was equipped with a modern kitchen and one large cultivation room and bathroom. It also had a spacious living room, 5 bedrooms, a small dining room, and a small storage room. The building was shaped like a short U. The 2 extensions were linked by a covered patio. The second floor was smaller than the first, which allowed for a roof garden on one side of the house. This floor had a different style than the floor below. The roof was high, triangular, and layered, and was covered with gray wood shingles. 2 small chimneys sit at the side of the house. Large skylight windows let in plenty of light to the rooms below the roof. The house itself was surrounded by a modest garden, covered mostly in grass, a few flower patches, and a small pond. The garden was completely blanketed by the snow while the pond seemed like a glass floor. Brother Ghost, 2 male disciples who were standing outside the entrance, greeted Michael when they saw him. I had no time for hiring professional bodyguards. Michael turned back to see Gaia gracefully walking towards him. There were still some biscuit crumbs around her cherry-red lips and her gray winter fur coat. Let Daniel and Ricky pick suitable candidates. I'll send them the message. Ricky and Daniel were guarding the restaurant, as well as helping the dwarf with some finishing touches to the restaurant. They were now like Michael's representatives in Rivertown. Stepping into the house, the howling sound of the wind finally came to a stop. The interior of the house was elegant with fancy sofas from this world, chandeliers, flower vases, and bookshelves. Sect leader Claire, Michael called out, standing in the hall. He could sense 2 life signs in the house. One was at the roof while the other was at the cultivation room. Ghost? Coming, Claire's gentle voice sounded from the second floor. A few minutes after, the beautiful blonde walked down the stairs with a smile. This was the first time Michael had seen her truly smile with joy. There was always a tinge of sadness deep within her eyes, but now the sadness was replaced by a fit of anger and motivation. Her cultivation stage surprised him a bit because in a few months she had reached the body strengthening stage. Of course, the elders and Claire must thank Michael because he was constantly supplying them with potions and pills so they could cultivate faster than usual. Sit down. Make yourselves at home. She gestured at them towards the sofa as Michael and Gaia plunged into the sofa. Wow. You're really giving your sect leader a hard time by cultivating this, she laughed. He expected her to sit on the opposite sofa, but she seated herself right next to Michael. The very next moment, she grabbed his hands. I never thanked you for saving my grandpa. The ability of Claire to create tears really surprised Michael. In a blink of an eye, tears began to roll out of her eyes. I'm not like before yet. I can hold back the tears. If it wasn't for you. Her voice trailed off. I did what I had to do as the guardian of the sect. No need to thank me, sect leader Claire. Just thank us by leading the sect to the golden days, Gaia said. A burst of a chuckle came out of her, defeating the tears of sorrow. With you guys by my side, I think I can do that. He then willed the system to take 500,000 gold coins from his storage. The moment the gold coins appeared in the hall, the golden light reflected by the gold coins lightened up their faces. This will be enough for you to buy everything I need to brew the potion to cure Elder Sandra, settling everything with Claire. They went to their house to make final preparations before leaving for the southern continent. The only thing they had left to do was visit House Bradley. Michael informed Claire that he would enter into seclusion, but in reality, he would meet with Malin before leaving to the southern continent. He already bought a mask similar to Gaia's to change his face. When they opened the door to their house, they were welcomed by the sight of a light orb on their sofa. Nightmare? They looked closer to see that it was Nightmare, who's radiating a bright light around him. What's happening? Michael frowned, looking at the violent energy fluctuations around Nightmare's body. The arch energy was flooding into his body from the atmosphere. He's going under dragon metamorphosis. Yes, we can leave him behind. She seemed weirdly excited as she almost bounced in joy looking at Nightmare like this. Although I didn't plan to bring him along with us. Why are you so excited about leaving him behind? It's because... She moved closer to Michael. Their noses almost brushed each other. We can have some alone time. His heart skipped a beat thinking about the possibilities. The seductive voice she just used sent electricity through his spine. He couldn't wait to get on a ship to the southern continent. Can we put him in Abyssal? It's safer there. No, teleportation might interrupt the arch energy flow. We have to leave him here. How long will he be like this? Since this is his first metamorphosis, it'll only take 2 or 3 months. System, can you teleport him to Abyssal without interrupting his metamorphosis? Sure. Just pay me 50,000 badass points. The system sounded so haughty as it already knew Michael's answer. Nope, as the system expected. He declined its offer because the safety measure around Nightmare was still active. If anything threatened Nightmare, he would be immediately teleported to Abyssal. By placing the banner of House Kane, he made sure the sect stays safe from any hostile activity, but even if someone dared to take Nightmare during his metamorphosis, Michael didn't need to worry about Nightmare's safety. Sitting beside Nightmare, he took a note out from the system storage. Gaia saw him scribbling something on the note before placing it near Nightmare. Take care, buddy. Suddenly, in a dark alley near the Phoenix Auction Manor, 2 figures appeared from thin air. Michael changed his usual black armor to something from this world. A long winter gray coat with black linen breeches. He let his shoulder-length black hair dance in the wind instead of covering it inside a black hood. One could now clearly see the stubble beard he started to grow recently. The cultivators in this world had control over their beard growth. Most tended to stop the beard from growing completely, but not Michael. He liked to sport many looks instead of the same clean-shaven look. They followed the signboards in the streets to the House Bradley compound. After a while navigating through the labyrinth of snow-covered streets, he saw a huge compound not far away. As they walked closer to the house, which was filled with a majestic and imposing aura, he noticed soldiers wearing various types of armor, such as light armor and heavy armor, patrolling the buildings on the other side of the gigantic metal gates. Some servants were bringing what seemed to be hot beverages to the guards patrolling in the bone-chilling cold winter. Michael also noticed the lack of street urchins, commoners, or any merchant stalls on the premises. Everyone he saw was either a soldier or a servant of House Bradley. After staring at the entrance for a while, Michael and Gaia walked toward the main gate, which was tightly guarded. However, before he could talk to the soldiers outside the gate, an old man, who appeared to have the position of the housekeeper, hurriedly came through the small gate beside the giant metal gate. Welcome to House Bradley, young Master Ghost, young Miss Elia. Please follow me. The old man surprised both of them by quickly recognizing them. Clearly, the old man knew their identities, so Michael did not waste time asking questions like how he recognized them. He just nodded, gesturing to the old man to lead the way. After entering through the small gate that the old man came through, a pretty female servant hurriedly walked out from one corner, after which she gently said a few words to them before leading the way from in front. They followed behind the female servant at neither fast nor slow pace. Gaia seemed indifferent to the luxurious mansion, but his gaze swept over everything. The towering atmosphere of the buildings caused him to secretly nod his head. Walking on a small path that was paved by rough grayish stone fragments, his eyes suddenly narrowed slightly. From his environmental scanning ability, he noticed numerous hidden beings hiding in the dark corners of the mansion as he entered deeper into the compound. Many sharp arrowheads that were painted black to cover the reflection were slowly moving within the mansion. Any little sign of trouble would instantly cause them to send out an attack. He could tell these secret archers and assassins were noticing his every single movement. Not bad. Gaia too noticed these people and gave a small nod of approval. Following the girl, they soon came to a luxurious large hall. Their gaze passed through the unlatched door and was able to faintly see a couple of people standing within it. The young servant girl left the hall without uttering a word, leaving Michael and Gaia alone. Soon, Michael began to walk forward towards the door. He gently pushed open the door. Finally, "You're here, Ghost." Chapter 219. Lord Malin spread his muscular arms wide to embrace Michael into a bear hug. Since gestures like this would strengthen the bond between them, Michael too embraced Malin without avoiding the hug. Gaia searched the hall for Nathan, but weirdly no one could be seen in the hall except 2 guards who quickly left the room after they entered. "I heard you made a friend out of House Kane," Lord Malin asked, releasing him from the hug. Then Malin acknowledged Gaia's presence by patting her on the shoulder. "Word travels fast, huh, Lord Malin?" Very Lord Malin, who recently reached the core strengthening stage, gestured at them towards the sofas. Various beverages, including wine and ale, were placed on a round table in front of the sofas. "Help yourselves out." Lord Malin took a glass for himself before pouring the ale into the glass. Michael nodded as he poured the grape juice into 2 glasses. He took 1 glass and handed over the other to Gaia. Lord Malin was surprised to see a heavenly blessed youngster, such as Ghost, treat a body-refining, normal-looking girl like this, because any prodigy would have let the girl pour the drink. Ghost was not only a talented prodigy but also a 5-star alchemist. If he wished, beauties and even princesses would be in line to be his wives. They would treat him as their king, yet Malin could tell just by this simple gesture that he's treating this girl as his queen. Either Michael or Gaia had zero ideas that a simple gesture like pouring a juice to another made such an impression on Malin. "So, Lord Malin, how's life treating you?" he asked, taking a sip of the grape juice. "I assume you have something important to talk to me, or you wouldn't have sent a secret letter." Lord Malin's face turned serious as he sighed. "I didn't like that method, kid, but I had to make sure no one sees you with anyone from House Bradley." "What's in your mind, Lord Malin?" "I'm sure you have a good reason to do that." "What do you know about House Bradley?" "Nothing much. Just the important things, like House Bradley provides one of the best security services in Kethen and has numerous powerful connections across the continent," Gaia answered. Considering Malin noticed how Ghost treated the girl, he knew she must be important to Ghost. Therefore, Malin decided to give her the same respect as he was giving Ghost. For the outside world, House Bradley is thriving, but in reality, House Bradley is in deep shit. "Vultures are picking our clients one by one." Gaia wondered why he was telling such weakness to 2 complete strangers. Noble families like them tend to keep things like this completely secret. She guessed that if he's telling this, he might ask something huge to be done by them. "I know you're wondering why am I telling you all this." Malin leaned forward to refill his glass before speaking his kind. "I've been watching you, kid. You're making connections and a name for yourself. I can tell you that you have ambitions other than just reaching the immortal stage." Malin let out a deep breath. "How do you like making House Bradley your lifelong ally?" Malin asked. "I have to say, Lord Malin, that I'm indeed interested in such an offer. But first, you have to tell me, what do you want from me?" "I want you to brew this undetected poison to kill my brother." Lord Malin flicked his wrist as an old worn-out scroll appeared in his hand. "So you want us to kill the current leader? If he's messing up, why can't you and the elders force him to retire or something and choose a new leader?" Gaia asked while Michael was checking out the scroll. Lord Malin sighed heavily. He was hoping for them not to ask this question because it was really embarrassing for him to answer. However, this embarrassment was nothing compared to his family's future. "It's because my brother has found a loophole to hand over the leader position to someone else." "Nathan?" Gaia asked. "I wish." Apparently, Nathan has no interest in becoming the leader. All he wants is to become an alchemist like you. Michael did not show any expression on his face. Then who does he want to be the next leader? "The whore he's fucking." A wave of anger emerged in Malin's eyes. He continued to curse with gritted teeth. "He's planning to marry that whore. It stinks, but it happens." Gaia knew the feeling too well. His father married Zanala's mother after Gaia's mother died. Ever since he married her, Nagaland has been declining. Once a superpower, now became a kingdom with most debts to settle. If killing her father would save her kingdom, she would do it in a heartbeat. Therefore, she sympathized with Malin, who was trying to save his family from being destroyed by the mistakes of a single person. "Lord Malin, why kill your brother when you can kill her?" Michael asked him. "Say again?" "The whore's him, not her." Both Gaia and Michael couldn't help raising their brows in surprise while Malin's eyes twitched in embarrassment. Even though it was nothing to be ashamed of, this world didn't tolerate or take lightly to same-sex relationships. The churches of various gods were strongly against same-sex marriages, but there weren't any laws against them. Marrying a man whore, That's new. Gaia had traveled almost everywhere in Elon and Azair, yet this was the first time she heard that a head of a noble family is thinking about marrying someone of the same gender. Now she could understand more why Malin wants to kill his own brother. If word got out of this marriage and he actually married him, she was positive that House Bradley is good as dead. On one side, the churches would use all of their power to make life harder for House Bradley, while the other rival families would use this to poach clients from House Bradley. What's stopping you from killing him, Lord Malin? Unlike Gaia, Michael was indifferent about who's fucking whom. We suspect that man-whore might have some connections with one of our rival families. If we killed him, they might release some scandalous documents or something that shouldn't be released. We cannot afford to take this risk. But if my brother were to die a natural death before he goes through with his marriage plan, he'll become the next family head and use all of the Bradley family resources to finally put an end to this fiasco. Natural death, that's where this potion comes, huh? This is indeed a very complex potion that can't be brewed by anyone other than a 5-star alchemist. Lord Malin seemed like he already knew this. But there's a problem with this poison, Lord Malin. Although it's colorless as water, one with an acute sense of smell could smell the poison. Are you willing to take the risk? I mean, if you get caught, you'll be ended as a traitor. Lord Malin rubbed his forehead, trying to make a decision. If you give me the ingredients, I can prove it to you. After a few minutes of pondering, Malin waved as a bunch of various ingredients appeared on the table. He wanted to check whether Ghost's statement about the poison was true or not. Seeing Ghost did not right out of the bat refuse to brew the poison, Lord Malin could heave a sigh of relief. Michael ignored the badass points notification sound in his mind and focused on brewing the poison. Malin heard about Ghost's alchemy skills, but seeing Ghost brew the poison with his own eyes still stunned him. In his eyes, Ghost looked like he's breezing through the process, showing no difficulties on his face despite the fact that this poison is one of the most complex potions to brew. Here you go. Take a whiff, Michael said, pouring the colorless liquid into a glass vial. He then handed over the poison to Malin. It stinks. Gaia twitched her nose as, among the three of them, she got the most acute sense of smell. When Malin brought the vial closer to him, he began to smell the nauseating smell. It was faint, but it was there. Malin realized the meaning of Michael's words. He knew that if he used this to poison his brother, he would definitely detect the poison's presence. You know you cannot use this, Lord Malin. Fortunately, I know something that could do the trick. Your brother won't suspect a thing. Before Malin could react to his statement, another glass vial with a colorless liquid appeared in Michael's hands. This was the same poison Michael was using in his spiders to poison his enemies if he desired to. However, Michael did not remove the arch energy radiation from the poison in his hand because it would freak out Malin and even lead to his own downfall. It's my own recipe. This poison is 10 times more lethal than the poison in your hand. Plus, it's odorless and disappears from the body in a matter of seconds. So even if a 6-star healer came to check the body, they will find nothing. Chapter 220. Lord Malin finally saw the dark side of Ghost. The usual cool smile disappeared and was replaced with a cold, murderous look. Even he felt slightly nervous after hearing about the poison in Ghost's hands. Use this to kill your brother. Michael handed over the poison to Lord Malin. Lord Malin took a long sniff, yet he could smell nothing. It was no different than water. As you said earlier, I do have ambitions and I like House Bradley to be my ally. After killing your brother, you and I know that it'd take even more cleaning in the house before stabilizing the family. I'll help any way I can to strengthen your position as the house leader. In other words, we'll supply you with this poison to take care of the vultures and anyone who opposes you in House Bradley, Gaia said. Lord Malin knew that he had to kill more people after killing his own brother. Until now, he was trying to be ignorant of the fact, but these two youngsters reminded him. Michael now took the upper hand in the negotiation. Lord Malin was desperate enough to ask his help to kill his own brother. How could Michael not use this opportunity to establish a connection with House Bradley? If he could get his arms around the leader himself, House Bradley would be as good as his own. At this time, he would help do their dirty work. In the future, however, they would be the ones doing his dirty work. In return, I want House Bradley to provide me the security service for all my future business empires. What's your current price? 25% in profits? Well, give you 10%, Gaia finished Michael's sentence. Malin very well knew that the moment he revealed his desperation, they gained the upper hand. Yet, this deal did sound like a good one to regain House Bradley's power. He heard about the Majestic and the restaurant Ghost was building. It didn't take a genius to realize the revenue of 50 Majestic stores. If House Bradley were to protect everything Ghost builds, 10% of the profits would be in millions per month. Just imagining it tempted Malin, overcoming the reluctance of killing many people on his way to the throne. Don't you have a single problem with my plan? Lord Malin couldn't help asking. The last time he saw Ghost, he was with Nathan and they seemed like good friends. If you're asking me if I have a problem with killing Nathan's father, I don't. You approached me with a good deal and I took it. It's how this world works, Lord Malin. We have to grab the opportunities that come in our way because they don't come often. Finally, Michael left the House Bradley compound, leaving Malin with the poison to kill his brother. How he poisons his brother didn't bother Michael. So what happens to your no-killing innocent rule? While walking through the snow-covered street, Gaia asked, do you really think Malin's brother is innocent? Besides, even if he is, we cannot conquer this world without directly or indirectly killing a few innocents. I'm not stupid or naive to think we can get everything we want without sacrificing a few innocents or bending some of our moral codes. His words made Gaia arch her brows. She gently placed her hand on his shoulder. You are playing Lucifer, human. You're not him. Don't become the evil Dark Lord that the Guardians claiming you will be. I know, but there will always be dark before dawn. The more Michael moved forward with his plans to conquer this world, the more blurry the lines between good and bad become. Soon, they found a dark alley to change their faces and clothes to become completely new persons before leaving for the southern continent. Where to? Michael asked. He now looked like an average-looking youngster with shoulder-length raven black hair. As the majority of the youngsters in this world, he sported the clean-shaven look instead of his current stubble-beard look. His gray long-sleeved, leather jacket covered him too well below his knees and was half buttoned up slightly off-center. The sleeves of his jacket were quite narrow and reached down to well below his hands. They were decorated with a decorative band almost at the edges. The jacket had a wide V-neck which revealed part of the stylish black shirt worn below it and was worn with a dark rope belt, which was held together by a big belt buckle. The rope belt was mostly decorative but did serve its purpose. His black pants were simple and quite narrow and reached down to his soft leather boots. The boots were made from pretty unusual leather but were otherwise an ordinary design. Gaia, on the other hand, changed her hair from golden to dark brown and put the hair into a long ponytail instead of letting her hair free as she usually did. She wore the exact same clothes as Michael, except she wore a breast holder underneath her shirt. To Kingdom Draddle, as she said. They took off from Ice Fair towards Kingdom Draddle. Regardless of night and day, they continuously fly towards Kingdom Draddle, taking only a few breaks for Gaia to munch on the food she brought. She was a girl who would share everything with Michael except her biscuits. However, Michael would steal some of her biscuits just to make her mad, which would eventually lead him to taste her cherry lips in the midair. It took them 2 weeks to reach the capital of Draddle. The city immediately reminded Michael of the city of Venice. Welcome to Bay City, Gaia said. Looking at the city on the horizon, Michael could see depots, huge ships that he only saw in fantasy movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, and buildings built in water. Except for huge sail ships, the city completely resembled Venice to him. He couldn't see a city wall around the city nor any guards. What are looking at? Bay City has no entree fees. Fuckers milk the people by other taxes like a trading tax. They descended to the streets on the water. The people seemed like they were accustomed to seeing new faces every single day. The women carried baskets filled with freshly baked bread, while most of the men near the depot worked various chores. Occasionally, Michael could see fancy carriages strolling towards the harbor area. However, his eyes were focused on the gigantic man-of-war at the harbor. The ship had 3 masts, each with 3 to 4 sails. The man-of-war was 60 meters long and almost had 130 guns. 4 at the bow, 8 at the stern, and the rest in each broadside. How much would that cost us? She was familiar with his desire to buy fancy things like this. 100 million gold coins minimum. I'll add that to the list you want to buy, she chuckled, punching him on the shoulder. Although she wouldn't be able to get him a man of worship for 100 million gold coins without him knowing, she would definitely gift him with something just as awesome as a man of worship. I want a fleet of man-o'-warships. After hearing his desire to buy a bunch of islands to enjoy his weekends, this didn't surprise Gaia very much. He began to walk towards the harbor, taking his gaze away from the man of war on the horizon. Upgrade your inventor trait to star level 6 and the host will be able to build ships that makes this man of war looks like a fishing boat. The system's voice made him halt his steps. Why are you smiling? Gaia noticed the sudden wide grin on his face. We should find ourselves a loyal 5-star blacksmith. Didn't you say Jack could become a blacksmith? He's loyal, why don't we kidnap him and make him work for us, the other us? She wanted to kidnap Jack to Abyssal, but Michael knew this was not the right time to make a move on Jack. First, he wanted to see what it was like to be in the southern continent. If Lady Luck was on his side, he might be able to bring an army of gladiators to Abyssal. We can talk about that after we came back from southern continent. What do you think we'll find in Kingdom Gisel? Kingdom Gisel was the place the system showed him to go to find the source of Nightcrawler's artifact. I don't know, but we'll find out soon enough, he said, walking through the crowd in the depot area. Soon after they crossed the depot area, they entered the harbor area where he saw ships of all sizes docked. For the first time, he noticed groups of soldiers in metal armors at the far side of the harbor. On their side of the harbor, all the ships docked in were military ships that had cannons, mortars, and a few weapons Michael had no idea about. Ships to Kingdom Breedia. We have ships going to the Azer continent. Come to me to buy your tickets. 3 places available on a ship to the southern continent. Michael turned his gaze away from the military harbor side to see a group of youngsters shouting at the crowd in front of them as loud as they could. What are we waiting for? Let's go. Chapter 221. Michael and Gaia approached the young boy who was shouting to get people on board a ship to the southern continent. Greeting, young sir and young lady. Are you thinking about visiting the beautiful southern continent? The boy quickly asked Michael and Gaia. You could say that. The boy's face brightened up to see potential customers. Then you come to the right place. I have 3 tickets to onboard Captain Lars' majestic warship, Striker. Let me tell you this, you'll find no safer ship to travel than the Striker, the boy said, placing his hand on the chest. He sounded so truthful, but Gaia knew he would say anything to sell the tickets. How much is a ticket? Just 100 gold coins. If you buy 2, it'll be 180 gold coins. You should buy them quickly, young sir. There aren't any other ships going to southern continent in this weather. Michael looked at Gaia as she nodded. The young boy grinned ear to ear. After he handed over the pouch containing 180 gold coins, the young boy just weighed it using his bare hands before putting it into his space ring. They were surprised to see a space ring in a young boy who wore nothing but rag tunics that had several holes in them. Again, they understood that this young boy might be working for someone influential and powerful around this part of the city. Otherwise, he couldn't have afforded to keep his space ring intact with his hand. Follow me, young sir, young lady, instead of giving the tickets. The young boy gestured at them to follow him behind. Customers coming through. Surprisingly, they followed the young boy to the military side of the harbor where Michael saw armed soldiers patrolling. However, they didn't stop them but let them through, asking no questions. Soon, they came before a galleon. The ship had a broad hull and a carved keel and figurehead of a sea dragon. The ship could easily reach the length of 50 m and was armed with 30 cannons. If Michael was to compare this ship to something he had previously seen, he would say this ship looks like the Black Pearl. Here you go. The young boy took out 2 silver coins from his space ring. He tossed each of the coins to Michael and Gaia. No spell casting on the ship, the young boy warned before running to sell the remaining ticket. You sure we can use arch energy in the southern continent? Gaia asked again. This was the 3rd time she had asked the same question since they left Icefair. However, he was unable to give her anything except a simple answer of yes. The system required him to actually reach the location where the arch energy would be cut off from their bodies before offering him the solution. Since the system assured him that he could afford the solution it would tell him, he wasn't afraid of reaching the southern continent, but rather he was excited. Ask this question again and I'll kick your snake butt. Let's see who's kicking whose butt. Hee. He had a bad feeling seeing her evil laughter yet. He threw his arm around her neck before pinching her rosy cheek. The wooden plank creaked as they walked. When they reached the upper deck of the ship, they were welcomed by the sight of the ship's crew preparing to leave the harbor. They took a second to notice Michael and Gaia before returning to their duties. They didn't wear any kind of armor or uniform but wore open shirts and linen trousers. The commonality between all of them was the cutlasses hanging on their waists and the smell of the sea. Move your asses, maggots. I need Striker cleaned and prepared fair, leaving the arbor soon as possible. Snap to it, lads on a platform above the deck. A muscular man with a feather hat shouted at the crew standing near the rudder. In Michael's eyes, he looked like a typical pirate with a long dirty beard, a rum bottle in one hand, and an eye patch. "Do ye ave the tickets?" A skinny crew member with greasy blonde hair approached Michael and Gaia. Yeah, they showed the coins given to them by the young kid. "RR, mates, we ave guests, cultivating guests. This one here looks like a genius o' some kind. Last looks fine too. Why don't you get the fuck out of my face and send someone else to show us where we'll be staying?" The crews were stunned to see a gentle-looking girl speak the way she did. "Har. I like that there one." The captain leaped from the rudder and landed right before them like he was trained in the circus. "Ye be welcome aboard, cultivators." The captain tried to imitate a noble bow sarcastically. "The captain likes them," the crew laughed. "Where we be going, your cultivation be as jolly as shite." The captain stared at them from top to bottom before taking a long sip of his rum. "Jolly equals good. I be Captain Lars, and this here old matey o' mine be called Striker. Do what I say, and when I say and yell, reach southern continent alive. Try to use your fancy spells air. I'll personally throw ye into the sea." Lars let out a burst of arch energy to reveal his core strengthening stage level 7 cultivation level. "Trent air will show ye where ye'll be stayin'." Lars leaped again to reach the rudder again as the skinny crew member who's called Trent led Michael and Gaia to their rooms in the lower deck. "We avenue to sleep at night, so don't do it so loudly. We won't complain if ye do to ehe." Trent laughed, fanning the flames of Michael's excitement. She expected Michael to open his mouth to say something, but she turned to see him licking his lips. He then winked at her as she couldn't help but roll her eyes. "You wish," she flicked Michael's forehead. "Why be the cultivators like yourselves going to the southern continent?" Walking down the wooden stairs, Trent asked. "To do business that's called none of your fucking business." Gaia was already annoyed by Michael's evil look, and Trent's question made her even more annoyed. "Ye ave some mouth, lass." "I plan to take full advantage of it," Michael teased her, pinching her perfectly sculpted waist. "Ah," she squealed after he pinched her hip, throwing a glare at Michael. Yet she soon laughed, which gave Michael a bad feeling. What is she planning? He asked himself. After walking a few more steps, they came before a 6 feet tall wooden door. Trent opened the door to reveal a small room with 2 bunk beds. The room gave off a serious claustrophobic vibe as it barely had any room to move around. "At least we have a window," Michael sighed, looking at the small window near the bunk beds. If not for the windows, he knew they would be choked to death at night. "We won't be sleeping in nights anyway." Gaia entered the room, shoving Trent away. Michael couldn't help but undress her in his mind. Although he had a bad feeling, he ignored those feelings, imagining a steamy night with her. "All right, lovebirds, we serve what we catch in a few hours." Trent left them in the room. Michael entered the room, lowering his head to avoid hitting the door frame. "I call the top bed," she shouted, but when she was about to jump to the upper bed, he pulled her by her waist. "Where are you going?" Michael was lying on the bed and she was on top of him. The bed creaked as both of their noses rubbed each other. "Let me go," she tried to wiggle herself out of his hold. "Give me a kiss," Michael chuckled. His fingers were running around her smooth back. Winter, small room, sea view. What a perfect time. Gaia stopped trying to get out of his hold. "No marriage, no me." She teased him by slowly running her fingers around his chest. You never told me what kind of marriage you want? Simple wedding or fancy wedding? Don't you dare go for the simple one. I would kick your ass. She pinched his cheek. Fancy it is. I want our marriage to be one of a kind. She placed her head on Michael's chest. Flowers, music, fireworks. I want everything to be perfect. Everything will be more than perfect for my more than hot wife. The word wife made her blush and at the same time, put a beautiful smile on her face. Michael knew behind all that tough lady shell is a soft, beautiful girl hiding. Only in situations like this could he see that soft girl. If anyone asked if he plans to marry someone on Earth, his answer would have been a big no. However, now he couldn't wait to tie the knot. With her by his side, it felt magical. He couldn't even imagine a life without her. The same thing goes for her too. She wanted to be with him forever. Even if the entire world was against him, she would stand in front of him, not behind or beside. She would stand in front of him, shielding him from the world. Michael very well knew that this is just a calm before the upcoming storm. Therefore, he decided to enjoy every second of these peaceful moments. At this moment, no one except one knew the fate of the southern continent is going to be changed forever. As Michael thought, this chapter is just the calm before the storm. Get ready to come on a bumpy roller coaster ride from the Chapter 222. What are you thinking, Lars? It's not like this is your first time. Captain Lars was sitting in his captain's room, which was located directly under the rudder platform. He was talking to a glimmering gemstone at the center of his table. The table was a mess as other than the glimmering gem. One could see various maps, papers, and metal pieces that seemed to have come from a broken cutlass. They do not seem like nobody cultivators. I don't want to get into trouble with them pesky guardians. Especially when I'm thinking about retiring from everything. Lars leaned back on his chair, taking a long sip from the rum bottle in his hand. The blue gemstone glimmered brightly. Don't worry, Lars. I investigated them. They are nobodies. They have no connections with guardians. Besides, you know my deal with them. I give them information and in return, they will turn a blind eye to my hobby. A thick voice of a male appeared from the gemstone. Lars began to rub his greasy beard before removing his hat to reveal his bald head. He put the hat on the table with a sigh. Then we make the transaction after we cross the void line. Don't approach us before. I'm not risking Striker take any damage if that their scurvy dog decided to throw some fancy-ass spells. We are not amateurs, Lars. Just give us a sign when you want to make the transaction. Hey, forgot to mention, watch over for pirates. I heard they are attacking merchants' ships quite often now. Let them come. I'll show them what this bad lad could do. Lars snickered as the gemstone began to lose its shine and eventually dimmed out completely. Somewhere else in the ocean, something gigantic was moving in the dark depths of the ocean. It was so deep in the ocean that no mortal could venture into it without exploding due to the high pressure. The deepest depth of the ocean only had glowing anemones for a light source. The moving object emitted unearthly vibrations that sent ripples across the deep ocean. One could vaguely see the structure of a warship thanks to the glowing anemones. Captain, that stinkin' Striker be eddin' this here way. Inside a darkroom in the gigantic object, a voice said, What good us attacking another ship would do? Another voice sounded tired and uninterested in attacking a ship. It's what we do, Captain, we be gentlemen o' fortune. Who knows how long we'll sleep this here time. So we must make the most out o' this. Gentlemen o' fortune equals pirates. I'm not the captain, Wiley. The captain be long dead, the voice said. Ye was the quartermaster when the captain died. That there makes ye the captain now. So do your captainly duty, Captain. All right, send the word fair the men to prepare. Well, attack the Striker when I give the order. The crew should use some fun before entering the long slumber. I want you to take me right here, right now. Gaia was slowly undressing, speaking in a seductive manner. She took off her winter coat, revealing the shirt she was wearing within. Michael dashed at her and lifted her off the ground to fasten the undressing process. Wake the fuck up, human! Suddenly Michael's body stopped moving as he heard a voice. The Gaia in her hand slowly disappeared into the light. He opened his eyes to realize that it was just a dream, a sweet dream. Couldn't you have waited just a little bit longer? I was just undressing you in my dream. Fucking pervert. She began to beat his chest like a drum, but she was careful not to fall into his hold again. There's nothing perverted about it. You're my girl, he laughed. And why are you waking up in the middle of the night? Go cultivate. He grabbed onto his blanket without any intention to give up. The sound of the waves, the cold breeze of the wind, and the small yet warm room gave his mind the peace to go for a long nap. Unless you want me to bath you in cold water, you'll get up. All right, I'm getting up, but this is better be good, Snake. He rolled his eyes, finally letting go of his quilt. Good boy. She ruffled his head like he was a little boy before dragging him out of the door by his hand. So do you think the dream would come again? He teased her on his way to the upper deck. Fuck human, what has gotten into you? She sounded annoyed yet amused at the same time. A cold winter. See. A beautiful girl who loves me in my bunk bed. You have no idea how much it would take a guy to control himself, She chuckled as they soon reached the upper deck. Michael expected to see crews running around the upper deck, making sure the ship stays in top condition, but to his surprise, he saw no one. He stared at the rudder to see it automatically spinning like it was put on autopilot. Even in the captain's cabin, there were no lights on. He knew everyone was probably sleeping drunk to their throats, yet he was here, standing on an empty deck in the middle of a freezing winter. When he was about to take his winter coat from his space ring, she stopped him. Are you kidding me? I'm not freezing to death, he raised his voice. Unlike him, who was standing here bare-chested, she was wearing the winter coat and everything to keep her body warm without the use of arch energy. I said I'd give you something special when we get on a ship to the southern continent, right? This is it. This is what? Training to improve your close combat skills. Michael's jaw dropped a couple of inches. His eyes were full of disappointment. He seemed like a kid who got robbed of his Halloween candies. Even the system began to laugh inside his mind. He was not expecting this kind of physical activity. Hey, burn. But I was thinking. He sighed without finishing his sentence. He wanted to get mad at Gaia, but he couldn't as he knew it was his fault for dreaming. She then slowly unmasked herself to show her real face, which made Michael's heart skip a beat. Raven black hair, perfect facial features, and a goddess-level hourglass figure. She was a beauty beyond words. He could stare at her all day. She was that beautiful. Miss Universes could hold a torch against her beauty. I've seen you fight, and it's an embarrassment. Her words brought him back from staring at her beauty. Soon, he frowned. Just a little motivation, she said, playing with her hair. Embarrassment, huh? Why don't we spar? Golden tiny light bolts emerged from his body, crackling around his body. He was ready to use lightning dash and teach her a lesson. Gaia immediately took a step back. She knew if he used his speed spell, it would be damn hard to land a hit on him, but she was expecting him to use this spell. You can't use any spells. That bitch Sadie didn't tell you everything about the first few rounds of the championship tournaments. Did she? She asked. In the tournaments, there will be a round where you just have to fight. No arch energy, no spells, just good old-fashioned brawl. The crackles of lightning disappeared from Michael's body. He was absolutely positive to win a brawl if he could use the lightning dash. However, if he was unable to use his speed spell, he wasn't as confident as before. Without using lightning dash, he knew Gaia could beat him in a couple of seconds because he saw her fight. Her combat techniques and skills were far superior to the techniques he learned on Earth and inherited from Abra's system. Can you use the mentor function to boost my training? Yes. The system can activate the mentor function to speed up your learning process of new fighting technique as well as improve it for a price, of course. After getting the confirmation from the system, a small smile emerged on his face. If he could learn Gaia's fighting technique and perfect it with the help of the system, he would beat all the competitors at the tournament Black and Blue. On top of this, he was already thinking about a prototype that would ensure his victory. What do you want me to do? He asked. Just start with free weight training to shed all that shabby fat in your body. He was surprised because although he wasn't as toned as some magazine models, he was lean and had noticeable muscle definition. Any girl would love to see him naked but not Gaia. "You're telling me this is fact?" he asked, pointing at his six-packs. Meh, she waved off before flicking her wrist. The next moment, Michael saw numerous metal plates, logs, bags that looked freaking heavy, and a bunch of unknown things appeared on the deck. "I got these from a muscle mountain I killed. We can use these to get you into shape." She kicked one of the metal balls towards Michael's direction. "Remember, you can't use arch energy or any of your freaky things. Do this and he'll bunk with you every night after the training." Done. Michael did not need any motivation other than this. It was a damn good deal if anyone asked him. Chapter 223. Come on, move your ass. Ah, fuck. On the upper deck, Michael was carrying a 300 kilograms log on his shoulder and walking from one end of the ship to another through the knee-high snow on the floor. All of his muscles were screaming as even in the cold weather, he was sweating like he was walking in the desert. Despite his suffering, she was hitting him with a stick every time he slowed down. One could see zigzags of red lines on his fair back. During his training, she was a completely different woman. After training, although he would drink a healing potion to heal himself, she would massage his back, pour him coffee and care for him like a perfect wife. Her care for him during the daytime was absolutely worth all this pain in his mind. "You're such a bitch," yet Michael couldn't help cursing when she attacked him with a stick again. "What did you call me?" She was laughing, yet she put on a mad face just to make him walk faster to avoid getting hit by her. She didn't love or take any pleasure in hitting him. It was part of training before she could actually teach him the secret fighting technique she inherited from her mother. Gaia's mother's father created this technique himself while Gaia's mother fused a few other techniques and Gaia was trying to perfect the fighting technique. Before the tournament began, she wanted to teach him the fighting technique so he could beat all the fighters in the tournament. After walking the 50th time carrying the 300 kilograms log, he finally completed the set. He was exhausted as he wanted to immediately lie down on the snow, yet he had a lot of other workouts to do. "Good. Let's work on your kick." She lifted his right leg. He adjusted his body not to fall down while his left leg was on her shoulder. "Leg work is vital to what he'll teach you soon. Now, lift it higher." She was lifting his leg higher and higher to the point he began to feel excruciating pain between his legs. "Keep it still for 30 minutes. It has been a week since he started his first training. This was the second most painful week he ever had. The first one was when he was training with Spectre back on Earth. "So you did this when you were training?" he asked Gaia, who was sitting on a pile of snow. "I'm not a puny human, so no. I didn't." She retrieved her snacks from the space ring. She had enough snacks to feed an entire family of 5 for a whole month. "You know, you should learn how to cook," Michael said while trying his best to keep his leg higher. "Why is thought?" Words barely escape her biscuit-filled mouth. "As if yo no hob to cook? Fo your information. I do know how to cook," Michael proudly said, putting his trust in the system. If push comes to shove, he would become a star chef himself. After all, personally cooking was more romantic than buying from a restaurant. "Really?" She swallowed everything in her mouth, gawking at him in surprise. "Then, you'll learn." Meanwhile, down in the crew member quarters, Captain Lars was lying on a bed. He was drowning himself in rum as the crew members surrounded him. They were gossiping. "Be they still doing it?" "Yeah. I'm afraid that their lad might die before we and them over to the buyer. That lass be a fucking dominatrix. Why be they trainin' anyway? It's not like Avon muscles would save them after they crossed the void line. Why would they even go to the southern continent? If I born in the northern continents and be able to cultivate, I'd stay the fuck out o a place where I cannot use me powers. Cultivators be evil shites. They do evil shite every single day like grab bin a piss. Jolly thin they ave a guardian guild to put them in the leash. Just imagine a gentleman o' fortune ship with cultivators fare the crew. Don't forget about the void. If it wasn't fair the void, the northern kings would have long conquered the southern continent." Captain Lars dropped the empty rum bottle to join the conversation. "Ye got it all wrong, men. The void line isn't Savon the southern continent from the northern continent. It's the other way around. The The Southerners make Northerners look like a pissin' little child when it comes to doing evil shits. Slavery, constant massacres, piracy, organ trafficking, experiments on poor bastards, and a shite load o' other evil things. Oh, I forgot about the corruption. If ye ave gold coins, ye can do anythin' and bribe anyone. Them senators be just pirates livin' on the land. Speakin' o' gentlemen o' fortune, Cap'n, I urged some powerful kingdoms in the R continent puttin' to the sky a naval unit to clean up the pirates. Licky aft on Pirate Cove said other continents might call these pirate destroyers. For a few moments, the crew quarters went into silence mode. Another reason for me to retire. I'm too old to deal with new shits. Lars sighed. Captain, what about us? After selling the 2 cultivators, well, split the gold and go our separate way. I'm planning to join a pirate crew. I always wanted to be a pirate. I'm going to the Pirate Cove and drink to death. I just want to travel. The crew started to discuss their future endeavors after selling Michael and Gaia to the one who called the buyer. The cultivators would lose their connection with arch energy or any kind of energy after crossing the void line and become mortals like them. These crew would use this to sell them to the buyer. Neither the crew nor the Lars knew what would happen to those they sell, but they didn't care for them as much as they did for the gold coins. Meanwhile, in Penn Town, Noah's house was lit up brighter than usual. The house sparkled with various colored light stones. The house was decorated as the house was on Earth during Christmas time. The house was filled with laughter and happiness. Diana was sitting on the far end of the oak table, looking at her family and the countless delicacies on the table. A giant teddy bear-shaped cake took most of the space, while on the top of the number, one could see the number 22 made of sparkling material. The table was occupied by all the Winston family members, but it was the 2 sitting on Diana's left side and the 1 sitting on her right side at the table that got the most attention. The 1 sitting on Diana's left was a young girl in her mid-20s. She had raven black hair, a perfect jawline that made her extremely beautiful. Her hazel eyes scanned everything and everyone in the room calmly. A tiny black mole above her lip enhanced her beauty even further. Despite her calm look, she was the strongest in the room, core strengthening stage level 10. She was Noah's big sister, Rowena Winston, the holy maiden of Skyhall. The golden Babaru Norvin was jumping around the table, picking every delicacy he could before jumping onto Alicia's shoulder. Maisie was enjoying the fried turkey leg while trying to catch Norvin to pet. At the table, Natalia was laughing with a golden-haired youngster, Andrew Winston. He was completely cured after Michael gave him the antidote for the poison and healed the starpox. Imelda was running around, bringing more and more food to the table despite Butler Samuel's strong disagreement with her doing all the work that should be done by him. Imelda waved off Samuel as she came to Noah carrying a huge chunk of juicy golden meat slice. "Why am I not seeing an empty plate, birthday boy?" "Aunt, no!" Noah shouted, but Imelda already put the slice of meat in his place, ruffling his hair playfully. "Take mine too." Sabrina used this opportunity to pass the slice of meat on her plate to his. Everyone laughed, seeing Noah's helpless reaction. "Lady Diana, may I bring you another grilled fish?" Samuel asked. Diana was looking at her family, but one could see her mind was somewhere else. Except for Imelda, no one knew what she was thinking. Mom, Rowena placed her hand on Diana's shoulder. Yet Diana seemed not to have noticed Rowena or anyone else. She just kept staring at the 22 at the top of the cake. Lady Diana, while she was staring at the cake, a guard covered in snow entered the room. Only now, Diana's gaze turned away from the cake. Looking at the guard, she almost stood up. "Young Master Ghost has left the Sunrise sect to enter seclusion, Lady Diana." No one knew where he went. The liveliness that appeared in her eyes vanished away after hearing the guard's words. Her eyes almost welled up, but she was able to control them from rolling out of her beautiful eyes. "It's my fault. I should have invited him back at the auction." Noah sighed. "It was either wait for him or save a village from a rogue cultivator." "Noah, I think you made the right choice," Alicia said. Her voice contained a tingle of coldness. "It's unfortunate. I wanted to thank him for saving me." Andrews shook his head. "And I wanted to save him for saving Mom and Sabi. Didn't you say he was at core formation level 3 when he's here? I wonder what kind of cultivation method he's using to break through this fast." Andrew spoke while many family members gasped in surprise. His cultivation speed was compared to Rowena herself. Did you search everywhere? Diana raised her voice. This day wasn't only Noah's birthday but also her other son, Dean's, also known as Ghost by the world. She wanted to see her son again on his birthday, yet the disappointment was turning into pointless anger inside her. Chapter 224. It's no one's fault. Imelda raised her voice and turned her gaze towards the guard standing in the doorway. Kim, take the day off. The guards left the dining hall after bowing in her direction. The joyous laughter vanished away as silence occupied the hall. Is it true, young Master Noah, that young Master Ghost is a friend of House Kane? I heard from our spies that he has seen with Elder Walter at the auction house. Samuel changed the topic to make the hall lively again. A few sounds of gasps could be heard in the hall. Most of the family members knew how hard it is to establish a connection with any of the noble families in royal land, let alone becoming a friend of House Kane, one of the most powerful families in royal land. Then he made an enemy out of House Fisher and probably House Oswin too. Alicia snickered. Every pair of eyes landed on her, expecting an explanation for her statement. Diana's heart skipped a beat hearing her son has made an enemy out of two powerful families. If Noah pissed off any of the noble families, he had his family and guardians to protect him, but her other son had to face them alone. This made her motherly feelings to protect her son erupt in her heart. 2 decades ago, she utterly failed as a mother. She wanted to redeem herself, yet she wouldn't be able with Skyhall in her way. Until Skyhall exists, her son would always be in danger unless she never reveals the fact that Ghost is her own son. Neither her family nor Ghost was strong enough to take on the Skyhall. She knew this, and this was the only thing keeping her from reuniting with her son. I heard he and the daughter of the second Oswin brother have some bad blood between them. Hence, he made an enemy out of House Oswin. What's her name? Andrews asked. Selena Oswin. Since he has reached the core formation stage, he would either fight Selena or her fiancé Alex Fisher. By allying with House Kane, the rival family of House Fisher, he is already on the bad side of House Fisher. Unless he loses to either of them, he would be in trouble with those families, Alicia explained. Do you think either of them can defeat him in the championship tournament? Natalia asked. Although Alicia didn't want to believe it, she thought either Selena or Alex would be able to defeat Ghost. In her mind, only Noah could defeat him among the same generation as Ghost. No, I saw each of them fight. They can't defeat him, said Noah, recalling the time when he fought with Ghost against the core formation beats inside the Nether Realm. If it wasn't for the stupid rule that guilds cannot compete in the championship tournaments, Brother Noah would have defeated him, Maisie said as many of the family members nodded in agreement. Rowena saw the uncertainty in Noah's eyes for the first time. Rowena trained with her little brother, and she could tell that even though Noah was at the body strengthening stage level 10, he could beat anyone below core formation level 5, yet he seemed uncertain about defeating a core formation level 3 cultivator. Diana heaved a sigh of relief, thanking the rules preventing the Guardian Guild from competing in the tournaments. The last thing she wanted was her two sons fighting each other. If they were to face Skyhall in the future, her children must stand together rather than against each other. Noah, do you think you can defeat him if you fought him in the tournament? Rowena calmly asked. I'm not sure. I have a feeling that he hasn't shown the full extent of his power to the world yet. The tournament will be a good place to study him. If that's the case, I'm sure the Guardian Guild is already putting up a file on him. Places like the Guardian Guild don't like to deal with the unknown. What about Skyhall? Sabrina asked while Rowena took a sip from her wine glass. Unless one reaches the fusion stage, Skyhall wouldn't care. We have bigger fish to fry. Her face showed no expression. Neither arrogance nor pride could be seen in her eyes. If Alicia was cold, Rowena was colder. However, she loved her family the most. If she had to choose between Skyhall and her family, she would choose the latter in a heartbeat. When came to know about the assassination attempt on her sister and mother, she personally hunted down all the known associates of Giles and Jacobs without showing them a shred of mercy. I don't want any of you to fight with Ghost, Diana said. It didn't sound like a request, but rather like an order. Noah saw her looking at him when she talked. He frowned because, in his mother's eyes, he saw something that's more than gratefulness of Ghost saving her and Sabrina. Allying with Ghost, a 5-star alchemist and a prodigy, is good for Winston family, Diana quickly said before her children started to doubt her. I agree with Aunt. If it was up to me, I would have given him the banner of the Winston family as a token for showing our gratitude. Some of the elders nodded in approval. Yet Noah seemed to disagree with Andrew. Noah. Andrews noticed Noah's silence and called out his name to hear his opinion. I think the Winston family and Ghost has some conflict of interests. Noah took a sip of wine before continuing. I don't think selfish people like him would not bring any benefits to the Winston family. Selfish? Diana frowned. Yes, he could have joined the Guardians and helped many with his talents, yet he chose to get richer. And he stole my dragon, Maisie shouted, punching the table with her little fist. Noah, he saved Sabrina and Aunt on the same day. I don't see how that's selfish, Andrew said. I am grateful for what he did. There's no denying that. But didn't Sabi say it was the dragon who came to her rescue first? Besides, Noah doubted that Ghost might have something to do with Jacob's letter because Noah doubted that Giles would be stupid enough to put his name on a letter that completely incriminates him. Yet he wasn't completely sure about that, and Giles turned out to be guilty when Rowena went on her killing spree. Although Giles escaped, Noah knew it was only a matter of time before he found him. Of course he came to save the dragon and ended up saving Sabrina, Alicia said. After hearing their words, Diana stomped the ground as the ground trembled. Stop it, all of you. We will not forget what he did. If it wasn't for him, Sabi, Andrews, and him wouldn't be here. I don't want to hear any of you speak so ungrateful ever again in my house. The entire hall went dead silent, seeing Diana's domineering face. It wasn't often she would lose her cool like that. On top of that, this was the first time they saw her raise her voice at Noah. Even Noah himself was stunned to hear her. Enough of this. Today's a celebration, so let's celebrate. Imelda quickly tried to elevate the mood in the hall. Inside Peyton's manor, Zanali and Peyton were staring at a table full of documents. So Connor lost him? Peyton creased her brows as Zanali shook her head. Ghost has been using teleportation scrolls to travel between kingdoms, Peyton. How could Connor follow him? However, despite him using teleportation scrolls, I'd say Connor did a good job providing us with all this information on Ghost. Teleportation scrolls, huh? I wonder where he is getting all those rare scrolls. Peyton rubbed her chin while Zanali put Michael's portrait next to the portrait of a question mark. Lucifer said he's giving the criminals 2 months. Ghost went into seclusion at the same time. Lucifer came just a few months after Ghost made his appearance at Rivertown. We don't know anything about him before he came to Rivertown. Zanali kept listing out facts to Peyton. Few days before Nightcrawler was killed by Lucifer, Ghost came to Flamefair. Zanali paused for a moment. Where are you going with this, Zanali? I think Ghost is working for Lucifer. Peyton just stared at all the documents at the table, pondering about what Zanali just said. Everything you said might be just a coincidence, but we can neither confirm it nor deny your doubt. I like your theory. We just need more solid proof. Peyton was desperate to find Lucifer so she could hunt him down. His accusation of them killing the nobles almost jeopardized the whole operation and brought down the wrath of a Guardian captain. Allocate more resources to Connor and bring us the best teleportation expert in the guild. I want to know every move Ghost makes, as you wish. Also, I want to put a surveillance team around the Sunrise sect. Go ahead, but be careful. A soul refiner is living there. Zanali nodded with a smile. She then quickly stacked all the documents on the table neatly. Let me guess. You were invited to Noah's birthday party. Chapter 225. The forest surrounding the Sunrise sect was large, thick, and archaic. Its canopy was ruled by monstrous linden, purple cottonwood, and gigantic chestnut. The occasional beam of light that made its way through the canopy allowed bright shrubs to cultivate the rich grounds below. Coiling climbing plants grasped many trees, and a medley of flowers, which blossomed brightly, protruded from the otherwise colorless view. A variety of sounds, belonging mostly to vermin, filled the air and were out of sync with the trickling sounds of a gentle river stream. Hiding within the thick forest, Connors was watching at a construction site a few hundred meters away. He was wearing full white clothes to blend in with the snow in the forest. At the construction site, he could see several black uniformed disciples helping the construction workers. Just by looking at the construction site and the tons of wood, marble stones, and glasses they were bringing in, he could tell they were building not just a house but a huge mansion. The dwarf engineering was a dead giveaway, showing the intricate design of the mansion. "Where are you, Ghost?" Connors mumbled. It has been a month since he was allocated more resources to gather more information about Ghost. Considering Ghost disappeared using a teleportation scroll a month ago, he couldn't follow him. Therefore, he was surveying the sect and his underlings were surveying Ghost's restaurant in Rivertown. Whoosh! A shadow brought extra darkness to the forest, as Connors looked upwards to see Ghost's pet dragon hovering over the sky before flying towards the construction site. This was the third time he had seen the dragon, yet it always freaked him out regardless of its body-strengthening cultivation level. It wasn't a full-grown dragon yet. The dragon was almost 3 m long, almost the size of a full-grown horse. Bright scarlet-red eyes sat well within the dragon's rounded, scaled skull, which gave the creature a frightening-looking appearance. The dragon had crimson-red shiny scales that made the dragon look more majestic and noble. 2 small crystal growths sat atop its head, just above its thin, curved ears. Its nose was short and had 2 wide, slitted nostrils, and there were crystal growths on its chin. Several razor-sharp teeth poked out from the side of its mouth and gave a preview of the terror hiding inside. A wide neck ran down from its head and into a slender body. The top was covered in wide scales, and a row of small tendrils runs down its spine. The dragon's belly was covered in radiant gray scales and shinier than the rest of its body. For slender limbs carried its body and allowed the creature to stand sturdy and elegantly. The most iconic feature of the dragon was its colossal wings that grew starting from just above its shoulders and ended at the end of its shoulder blades. The wings were bladed in structure. The skin of the wings seems to glow as if made from the fire itself, and armor-like scales grow on top of the wings' primary bones. Its graceful tail ended in a sharp, arrowhead-shaped tip and was covered in the same scarlet-red scales as its body. "How's the work going?" The dragon's voice sent a chill running through Connor's spine, yet at the same time, it kindled his hunting spirit. He wanted to hunt down this creature and put its head on his wall. It would definitely increase his status among the other Guardian trainees in Operation Dawn. When Connor received Ghost as his target from Peyton, he was beyond excited because, unlike Lucifer or any other targets on the list, Ghost seemed to be the most overrated yet easiest one in his eyes. The only drawback was Ghost's teleportation. Now, Peyton allocated more resources and a team of dedicated teleportation experts working on a rune that would track Ghost's activity even after he teleports. If he could gather enough evidence to neutralize Ghost, this would catapult his career through the roof. His family spent millions of gold coins to help his cultivation, otherwise, he wouldn't have reached the core formation stage at just 27 years old. If he could become a full-fledged Guardian, he could earn what they spent in just a couple of years. As any Guardian, his life would be spending nights with countless beauties, as well as attending balls organized by various noble families. Whoosh! The dragon flapped its wings, taking off from the ground. The heat radiated from its body melted the snow where it was standing a moment before. Connors quickly hid behind a chestnut tree. It was not the time for him to hunt this creature. Connors continued to watch the construction site as well as the female disciples who were bringing hot beverages to the workers through a rune-placed monocular. Crick! Suddenly, in his interest in checking out the female disciples, he ignored the sound coming from behind. "Hey!" Connors almost dropped the monocular as his body jerked when he heard the voice. He immediately turned back to see a golden-haired youngster staring back at him. On the ground, Connors saw a basket full of chestnuts as the golden-haired youngster unsheathed his sword. Jack Connors knew almost every single known associate of Ghost, so he naturally recognized the golden-haired youngster as Jack, one of the most loyal lackeys of Ghost. "What are you doing here?" Jack saw spell scrolls, weird pieces of equipment lying around the white-clothed man. Jack couldn't see his face through the mask, yet his fully covered face only increased Jack's suspicion. "Calm down." Connor let out a burst of arch energy showing his cultivation level. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" Jack shouted at Connors fearlessly. The image of Gaia and Ghost in his heart gave him the courage to face a core formation intruder. Connors was slightly surprised to see the fearless expression on Jack's face as he slowly stepped towards Jack. "You sick bastard! Are you spying on us?" Jack took a step forward. "Yes," Connors calmly said. "Surrender peacefully." Jack threatened Connors. Unlike Michael or Gaia, Jack never had real-world battle experience. If he had, he would have called for help instead of asking Connors to surrender. "If you come with me peacefully, I'll ask Sister Elia to go easy on you." "Ha ha ha." Connors burst into laughter after hearing Jack's words. Jack creased his brows. Until now he didn't think to call for others. His devotion towards Gaia and Ghost gave him blind courage. "Elia, the body-refining bitch of Ghost?" Connors laughed, thinking that Jack threatened him by mentioning Elia, Ghost's girlfriend, instead of using Ghost's name. "How dare you!" Jack lost his cool when he heard Connors call Elia a bitch. Although Gaia would constantly slap him around, he always thought of her as his big sister. Every time he got into trouble, she would beat him silly but always got him out of the trouble at the end. Jack respected and loved Ghost as his brother, but he worshipped Elia because compared to Ghost, he spent more time with Elia. Even when all of his friends were against him for loving Nyla, Elia supported him, saying he should listen to his heart rather than to others. She was his big sister he never had. Jack leaped at Connors, raising his sword. He tried to use what he learned from Ghost in sword mastery. Void Step. Connors cast the spell as Jack saw him vanish into thin air. The very next moment after he saw the intruder vanish, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. "Pulch!" Jack coughed a mouthful of warm blood. He looked down to see a sharp dagger sticking out of his chest. Jack tried to take out a healing potion from his ring, but before he could access the ring, he felt another excruciating sharp pain in his chest. Jack's body lost the strength to stand straight as he stumbled down on the ground. He crawled through the snow towards a tree. Connors appeared beside Jack before kicking Jack in the gut. The kick sent Jack flying into a tree. He coughed up more blood as his vision began to blur. He barely saw the white-masked figure squatting in front of him. "Sister Elia." Cough, cough, Will, Pulch. Jack wanted to scream in pain, but all he heard was a chuckle from the masked figure. Placing his hand on Jack's shoulder, Connors slowly thrust his dagger deeper into Jack's heart. "Come. For. You." Cough. The words barely escaped Jack's mouth. It was too late for Jack to realize that he should have called for help. Even in his last moments, he believed his sister Elia would come out of nowhere and save him. He refused to believe that he was dying. The snow below him turned red from the blood coming out of his wounds. "You were in the wrong place at the wrong time," Connors said, removing Jack's bloody hand from his chest. In his last moments, Jack felt the embroidered symbol on the masked figure's chest. Connors saw Jack close his eyes, but he could swear that he saw a tiny smile on the corner of Jack's bloody mouth. Since his place was uncovered by Jack and probably someone could soon come looking for Jack, Connors immediately gathered all of his equipment, preparing to leave the place. Although he was dying, he didn't worry about his family because he knew Ghost and Sister Elia would look after them and avenge his death. An image of him getting slapped around by Gaia appeared in Jack's mind before everything turned into darkness. Chapter 226. It's been 33 days since we left the Draddle, Michael said, watching the cloudy night sky. Today was a rest day from his hellish training. He wanted to spend the day with Gaia peacefully, but she was unusually silent. She was standing on the edge of the ship, staring at the direction they came from. "What is it?" Michael came to her side to accompany her in staring at the dark sea. "I'm feeling something I've never felt before," she said. Her voice was quieter than usual. "It might be seasickness," Michael just shrugged. Surprisingly, she didn't laugh or give a reaction at all. She just kept staring at the horizon. "I can't describe this feeling. It's like someone's desperately calling me." "Do you think something could have happened at the sect?" He shook his head. He made sure that his sect stays safe before leaving, but even after everything he did, it's far beyond his control if something still happened. For now, he wanted to get the artifact related to Nightcrawler's artifact as soon as possible. After that, he would revive the demon soul waiting back at the abyssal. Instead of using words, Michael just wrapped his hand around her shoulder. She gently kissed his arm before resting her head on his shoulder. Having him beside her made her feel better. In a few more hours, well crossed the void line on top of her words, he could already feel the density of the arch energy gradually decreasing in the atmosphere. He took a long breath after crossing the void line. It was up to the system to save their bacon. "The system will scan the atmosphere to create a solution in an hour," the system reassured Michael. The further they moved towards the invincible void line, the force of the wind increased significantly. His long gray long coat fluttered back in the wind along with his raven black hair. Approximately 2 hours later, Michael noticed a significant decrease in the snowfall. In the distant sky above the horizon, he could see a couple of glimmering stars in the sky. He was staring at the welcoming sight of the cloudless sky when he noticed an object floating in the sky. The system has scanned the atmosphere and found that something extraterrestrial is consuming the arch energy in the atmosphere around the southern continent. Michael entered the system after he heard the words. "Extraterrestrial? Can you identify what sort of alien we are dealing with?" "System's level is too low," he sighed, except the system's next words shocked him even more. "But the system recommends not to go search for the extraterrestrial being, at least the host is an immortal. I thought him the only alien in this world, but it seems I was wrong." "What about the solution, if it's consuming all the arch energy?" His voice trailed off. "Although the extraterrestrial being is consuming the arch energy in the atmosphere, it's not void of arch energy. No cultivator or a magical beat could use the tiny amount of arch energy in the atmosphere, but you can." He finished the system's words. "Yes. So get ready to give the system 40,000 badass points to enable the energy extractor function. System version 3.0 host. Michael cultivation level, core formation stage, level 3 experience points. 5,000/40000 badass points. 92,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL2 lightning dash, LVL2 energy devolver, LVL1 death range, LVL2 techniques. Swords of Destiny 90% mastery ring of fire, 59% mastery serpent maga, 80% mastery occupation. Core disciple of Sunrise, sect the guardian of Sunrise sect Lord Lucifer of the abyssal status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the order of death utility function. Banker, LVL3, ratio 1,000 gold coins. 10 badass points. Runic teleportation wealth. 11 million gold special trait. 5-star alchemist, 3-star inventor subordinates. Gaia warrior, loyalty level 100%. Raylene, 5-star chef, loyalty level 98%. Arya, assassin, loyalty level 29%. Base of operation. Sunrise sect the abyssal, 40,000. Geez, he sighed in his mind before asking more about this function. So if I pay what you ask and enable the function, can I use my full cultivation power in the southern continent? No. You will be able to use your cultivation power 3 hours a day. Your chosen subordinate can use their cultivation power for 2 hours a day. You know what? I'm not even surprised. He knew there must be a catch when it comes to systems offers. Despite the time limit restriction, he had no other choice than enabling the function for 40,000 badass points. Stop pondering too much, host. It's not like you have any choice. The system snickered. I have to stop upgrading. You sound more and more like an asshole, Michael said in an irritated voice after he heard the system's words filled with arrogance. The system did not reply as it remained silent until he asked another question. So the function is upgradable or not? The next upgrade will let the host use your cultivation power for 5 hours and subordinates can use it for 4 hours, but you're too poor. Get me 200,000 badass points and then we'll talk. The system sounded more like Gaia. He could only deal one Gaia at a time, so he remained calm despite the system's tone. All right, I'll buy the function. Wonderful, was it so hard? You're being a jerk because I have to depend on you more to survive in the southern continent. Aren't you? Michael was stunned for a moment to hear the system giggle. He could tell it's becoming more and more like a human being with time and level. He wondered how human-like it would be when he upgrades it again. A few moments after, the badass points decreased from 90,000 to 50,000. The system has successfully enabled the energy extractor function. The host can now choose a subordinate to share the energy extractor function with. Do I really have to spell the name? It's Gaia. Leave the system and place your hand on subordinate's forehead. Rather than Michael exiting the system, he was thrown out of the system as everything around him began to move. What an asshole of a system I have, he cursed the system in his mind. He then turned his gaze away from the object to Gaia. Her face was still dull. It was obvious she's still trying to figure out the reason for her bad feelings. This will cheer you up. Michael placed his hand on her forehead. She was about to ask a question when she felt a tingling sensation inside her head. Along with the tingling sensation, she was able to sense arch energy in the atmosphere as she was back on the northern continents. What? She let out a quick bark of laughter in shock. Her mouth kept opening and closing. How? I can use my cultivation power for 3 hours a day and you can use it for 2 hours. When Michael thought about it, the 3-hour time was not less but rather it was enough. By using spells, no one in the southern continent would be his match. Hence, there wouldn't be a need for using arch energy for 3 hours. He just had to find a way to travel without flying because flying was the only thing that could require him to use arch energy for more than 3 hours. We are gonna rule the southern continent. As Michael guessed, this made Gaia forget about the bad feeling and made her bounce in joy. He couldn't help smiling looking at her laugh. We still have to deal with the utmost caution, Gaia. What we are about to do will get every major power, including the top heads of the Guardian Guild. They might not come looking for us in the southern continent as it would be equal to suicide. They will use every bit of their resources to watch our every step. Can't we just conquer the whole southern continent 3 hours a day? She rubbed her hands together. Her eyes sparkled regardless of Michael's statement. We will conquer the southern continent, but I won't rush it. I don't think we can rule an entire continent just because we can use our cultivation power. As a princess, you know more about ruling than me. Yeah, you're right. She took a deep breath, controlling her excitement. It's not that simple. Let's just do what we always do first. Recon, he nodded. Why wage a war on a kingdom when you can just control its rulers? Said Michael with an evil grin. Michael wanted to be the shadow ruler of the southern continent by controlling every senate. According to Arya, in most of the kingdoms in the southern continent, the kingdom was ruled by the Senate instead of a king or a queen. The Senate was composed of 10 senators and 2 consuls who were elected by the senators. The 2 consuls had the most power in the Senate. They had control of the army and the treasury, the 2 of the most important bureaus. Arya also mentioned that only nobles could vote and stand as senator candidates. The more he heard about the southern continent, the more it felt like ancient Rome. The arena and the gladiators were already a dead giveaway, yet everything he heard from Arya strengthened his assumption. Ere ye be. We avenue crossed the void line, fair your information. They suddenly heard the voice of Captain Lars. They turned back to see him walking towards them along with a group of his crew. In Lars' eyes, Michael saw a tinge of pity. Gaia didn't look his eyes but the cutlass in his hand. She creased her brows. What do you plan to do with that cutlass in your hand? Captain? Lars didn't answer Gaia but looked at the distant sky as everyone saw a gigantic eagle soaring through the sky towards them. The eagle carried a steel cage that had just enough space for 2 people. Lars, my friend. Suddenly a voice reverberated from the sky. Chapter 227. Michael looked up to see the eagle slowly descending from the sky. The steel cage was on top of the lower part of the eagle's body, while two grown men were riding the eagle by standing above its shoulder. The two men were in their mid-30s and wearing a gold-embroidered toga. They reminded Michael of the ancient Roman noblemen. These two men weren't radiating zero amount of arch energy, but the amount was negligible. If they tried to walk through a defense array, they would definitely trigger the array. However, they would be considered as the weakest of the commoners back on the northern continent. Yet here they rode the eagle with a domineering attitude. Caw-caw. The eagle let out a loud, ear-piercing cry. It sounded like a raven somehow rather than an eagle. Thud. It landed on the ship, shaking the ship for a few seconds. The eagle then turned its head to stare at Michael and Gaia menacingly. The one wearing a toga with a purple line stepped onto the ship first, while the one wearing a white toga with red lines carried a medium-sized chest before placing the chest before Lars. Lars signaled the greasy blonde crew member who welcomed Gaia and Michael to the ship when they first onboard Stryker. Until now, the two noblemen wearing toga did not even look at Michael or Gaia. Trent licked his lips, walking towards the medium-sized chest. His skinny hands slightly trembled approaching the chest. When he opened the chest, his face brightened up due to the glistening gold and gemstones inside the chest. Even Michael's eyes sparkled looking at the rubies, diamonds, gold bricks, and various colors of gemstones shining inside the chest. 3 million, as we agreed. The one wearing the toga with purple lines smiled at Lars. The crew behind Lars were looking at the chest full of goodies like starving dogs staring at the barbecue. Michael folded his arms, leaning back on the ship's foresail wooden beam. Gaia saw his face, totally calm and cool like nothing's going on here. Only his eyes were occasionally gawking at the chest full of goodies. Okay guys, what's the plan here? Finally, Michael opened his mouth after Trent closed the chest. Why don't you two piggies save us the trouble and get yourselves into the cage? The one with the red line toga waved off at them without even looking at them in the eyes. However, the one with the purple line toga, who also had a bald head, turned his gaze at Gaia. His blue eyes scanned Gaia from her head to toe. I heard cultivating women are way better than our southern ladies, but it seems like I heard wrong. He shook his head disappointingly. That was a big mistake, Michael mumbled, as he could already feel a cold killing intent. It wasn't much about what he said, but the way he said it. She hated being compared to other girls, and he just compared her with northern ladies, a big fucking mistake. Yet, she remained silent. Ye heard the man, Trent shouted at them. Michael saw no fear in Trent's eyes. The fear he saw when he first met him. One didn't need a genius to figure out that the reason for Trent and every crew member's newfound courage is that Michael and Gaia lost their ability to cast spells. We be sellin' ye daft dumb, Trent laughed along with his crew members. We can see that the calm look on his face began to disturb Lars. After exchanging pleasantries with Lars, the one wearing red lines toga turned his gaze towards Michael and Gaia. Don't make me drag you into the cage. Piggies. The scar running across his face made his warning even more menacing. Michael was still dazed, thinking why these southerners look like Romans of the ancient time back on Earth. He was making connections in his head that he failed to notice the crew members, including taking their cutlasses out of their sheaths. You should know that even without the arch energy, we can fuck you up, Gaia cracked her knuckles. Most of the cultivators spend their time cultivating or practicing spellcasting, or if they had any specialization like Michael, they would use the time to improve their skills. Most of them wouldn't come to the southern continent, therefore they didn't have to think about what they would do without arch energy. Besides, 99% of the fighting styles required arch energy, so their combat skills wouldn't be useless in the southern continent. However, Serpent Maga was not one of those fighting styles. Only 4 people in the world could use Serpent Maga: Gaia, Gaia's father, Zenali, and Michael. Among them, with the help of the system's mentor function, he was perfecting the fighting style to unlock its maximum deadliness. After 30 days of training, he was at the point where he could survive a fight with Gaia for more than 5 minutes, taking less beating from her and landing several blows to her. The girl got teeth. I will look forward to opening her up, Michael was surprised. There was no lust in his eyes but something evil. He had seen this evil before. It was the same look a notorious mad scientist who tried to find a cure for a brain tumor back on Earth. The scientist's cause was noble, except he was kidnapping people and doing all kinds of horrible experiments on them until he kidnapped a wealthy person's daughter and ended up getting assassinated by Michael himself. This tog-wearing man had the same look in his eyes as the mad scientist once had. Though unlike on Earth, Michael wasn't disgusted by this look. He felt curious. This time he wanted to kidnap the evil scientist and interrogate him so he could exploit the tog-wearing southerner. Boom! Pulch! Pulch! Just when Michael was about to really use his serpent maga on these poor crew members, the two Roman-looking guys exploded into a bloody mist. Took them a few seconds to realize what just happened. Pirates! Captain Lars screamed as Michael turned back to see a huge ship leaping out of the water like a whale. Seeing the ship that emerged from the underwater, Michael took a few steps backward in fear. He had seen this ship before, the Flying Dutchman. The ship floating a few hundred meters away from him looked very similar to the Flying Dutchman in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Boom! 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 3 loud booming sounds reverberated the calm sea. The Eagle was still in shock, but before it could even react, the iron cannonballs fired by the pirate ship turned the Eagle into the third red mist of the day. It's the Silent Reaper! Lars screamed again, rushing to the rudder. Michael and Gaia leaped out of the place where they were standing to avoid being hit by the cannonballs. Boom! 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 Get the cannons ready to fire! Lars shouted. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! God saves us! Please God! I don't want to die! The crew members were running around scared to death while avoiding the cannonballs and exploding wooden structures. Do you see that ship? Michael had to shout to overcome the sound of cannonballs exploding. Yeah, it's hard to miss, Gaia replied. They still didn't use arch energy to save time. They were hiding behind the mainsail wood beam looking at the pirate ship that resembled the Flying Dutchman. The crew members and Lars forgot about them after their clients exploded into a bloody mist. Wait here, Michael shouted. Where are, fuck? Before she could ask, she saw him running towards the chest rolling on the deck. Lars was turning the ship to avoid getting hit by the Silent Reaper as everything loose on the deck began to roll around. The hull and the seawater clashed to produce waves that soaked everyone and everything wet on the deck. One could doubt that whether it was the seawater or they actually got themselves into a storm, as the booming sound was similar to thunderclaps and the light produced by the cannons in the Silent Reaper resembled flashes of lightning. Don't! Trent saw Michael's intention to steal the chest. He came yelling at Michael with a cutlass in his hand. The other crew members were busy with keeping the ship afloat as well as cannons ready to fire once they turned the ship sidewards to the Silent Reaper. Despite the ship shaking violently, Michael swiftly turned his body away from the trajectory of Trent's cutlass. Trent lost balance when his sword missed its target. When he was about to stumble forwards, Michael wrapped his hands around his neck, instantly twisting it with all his strength. Crack! Trent's lifeless body was thrown into the sea when Lars turned the ship suddenly. Once again, the chest rolled away from Michael's grasp as he himself almost lost the balance. That's mine! Lars noticed Michael chasing the chest and yelled while turning the rudder using all his strength. Lars shouted but didn't order the crew members to catch or kill Michael because he knew what he was dealing with here, the infamous cursed ship, the Silent Reaper. He never expected he would run into this particular pirate ship on the day that he was supposed to make one last trade before retiring. Suddenly, they heard an unearthly humming sound as the Silent Reaper stopped firing. It's going to dive again, some of the crew shouted. Chapter 228. Michael was completely stunned to see a gigantic ship like the Silent Reaper diving in and out of the water like a huge whale. He couldn't help but wonder how the pirates on the Silent Reaper survived the dive without getting thrown into the sea. The resemblance to the Flying Dutchman, the overwhelming fear on Lars' crew members' faces, the way Lars himself trying to get away from the Silent Reaper showed Michael that there's something airy about the ship. However, his full focus was on the chest that contained 3 million worth of goodies for now. As the god himself was bringing down his wrath on them, a ferocious storm surrounded them. In the distance, Michael could vaguely see a dark, devastating tornado coming in their direction. A naval fight in the middle of a storm was not how he expected to spend this day. "It's diving!" Lars screamed. His voice contained nothing but fear. It made Lars completely ignore Michael, who was chasing around the chest full of his retirement fund. "What the fuck?" On the other end of the ship, Gaia was holding a wooden pole to steady herself when she saw the Silent Reaper slowly sinking into the water. What kind of ship could jump in and out of the sea? She thought. "Captain, get us away from that ghost ship." The momentarily pause of not getting attacked by the Silent Reaper made the crew members take a breath. They shouted at Lars to save them. "Got ya!" The moment the ship stopped violently shaking, Michael grabbed the chest. "Stop him! That's ours!" Boom! Just when some of the crew members were shouting at Michael for grabbing the chest, another loud booming sound reverberated the sea. The ship began to vibrate as soon the vibration turned into violent shakes. Whoosh! The next moment, the Silent Reaper jumped out of the sea just a couple of meters away from them. The seawater displaced by the Silent Reaper drenched and even threw some of the crew members out of the ship. The Silent Reaper cast a huge dark shadow over the striker. Due to its enormous size, the striker looked so weak and tiny in front of it. The figurehead of a Reaper holding a scythe looked down on everyone on the striker as they all lost their courage to fight. In this close, they all knew the Silent Reaper could fire some of its front cannons to completely destroy them without even giving them a chance to escape. Only Michael stared at the Silent Reaper with curiosity and wonder without showing any fear on his face. "This is perfect," he mumbled, staring at the figurehead of the Reaper holding a scythe. The dark grayish sails, the black hull, and its almost 200 feet length made his eyes sparkle. Already in his mind, he started to imagine captaining the Silent Reaper, living a pirate life. He ignored the worn-out-looking hull, the rust-covered cannons poking through the hull, and the ship's old condition itself. All he had in his mind was becoming the captain of the Silent Reaper. This ship instantly stole his heart. "Surrender or die soon." A deep voice sounded from the Silent Reaper. It felt like the ship itself was talking to them as the crew dropped the cutlasses. They had no courage to fight against the Silent Reaper. Soon after they all dropped their weapons, the Silent Reaper slowly turned sidewards, revealing its 25 broadside cannons that could obliterate the strike in one go. The striker was small for Michael to get a look at the crew of the Silent Reaper. While he was craning his head, a plank was thrown to the striker from the Silent Reaper. Firewall activated. Blocking telepathic attack from the Silent Reaper. Michael suddenly heard the system's warnings inside his head. The warnings made sense. The Lars crew were so quick to give up all their hope and courage. Now Michael knew why. Something from the Silent Reaper had terrified them, just like his fear toxin, except the Silent Reaper seemed to be meddling with minds telepathically. Michael quickly turned his gaze away from the ship-top Gaia. There was indeed fear in her eyes, but she didn't look pale or terrified like the rest of the crew. "System, can you block the Silent Reaper from playing with Gaia's mind? Subordinate Gaia has enough mental strength to fight off the telepathic signals coming from the Silent Reaper." "Fuck my luck," Lars mumbled before walking the plant to the Silent Reaper. Although he seemed less affected by the Silent Reaper, he was definitely not Captain Lars that Michael met before. One by one, the crew members began to follow Captain Lars. "Let's go," Michael waved at Gaia. What the fuck just happened? First, they wanted to destroy this ship and now want everyone to surrender? And did you notice how miserable the crew became after that weird voice sounded from the ship? She rapidly fired questions at Michael. "Come on, let's go." Gaia was slightly surprised to see the excitement on his face. He looked like a kid who's going to his favorite place. "You're awfully excited?" she asked, joining the line of the crew walking the plant to the Silent Reaper. "The chest. Inside my space ring," he answered Gaia while walking. "Trouble really follows us, huh? First, those southern jerks wanted to buy us, and now a freaky-ass ship wants us to get on board." She had to raise her voice a bit because of the thunderclaps. Also, they had to walk carefully as the storm was powerful enough to push them down into the sea from the wood plank they were walking on. "I need to cut this freaking hair," Michael cursed his shoulder-length hair when it became wet and flew across his eyes, blocking his vision. In a battle, if his hair blacked his vision even for a split second, he would die. He would be a laughingstock if he died because of his long hair. Move faster! Michael almost pushed the one walking in front of him. He wanted to get the view of the Silent Rapier's crew because he really wondered whether he would meet Davy Jones himself or not. A few minutes later, Michael finally saw the crew he was waiting for. The remaining crew, including Lars, was surrounded by a group of dirty, greasy pirates who smelled like rotten fish. The crew of the Silent Reaper came in all sizes, including midgets to 7-foot-tall giants. They were all human, unlike Michael anticipated. There was no octopus-faced crew member. The Silent Reaper crew didn't wear any distinctive clothes but ragged, dirty clothes. I had to say, I'm kinda disappointed, Michael said to himself. Considering the Silent Reaper looked and functioned very similar to the Flying Dutchman, he was kinda expecting to meet a crew resembling the Flying Dutchman's too. Yet, instead of those terrifying crew, he was welcomed by a crew that could be compared to Captain Barbassa's and Jack Sparrow's crews. The Silent Reaper's crew was licking their lips, staring at Gaia. They seemed like starving dogs. Both Michael and Gaia ignored these dirty pirates. They just wanted to see how the situation is going to play out before revealing their secret. Welcome to the Silent Reaper. Taking his gaze away from the crew, Michael turned his head in the direction of the voice to see a tall, muscular man towards them. He had dark skin as an African male. He stood almost 6'2" feet. This black man had an authoritative feel about him, and he had a scar running across from his left upper eye to his right cheek. One couldn't see a single hair on his clean-shaven head. He had pierced both earlobes. The thigh-sized arms looked like they could crush a man to death, while his torso had defined muscles. He was neither wearing something fancy nor dirty ragged like the rest of the crew, but just a short-sleeved transparent tunic and khaki-color breeches. He was accompanied by 2 cutlasses that hung on each side of his waist. He had the perfect thick voice for his muscular body. His dark eyes scanned everyone on board for a few seconds before they landed on Gaia and Michael. "What do ye pirates want?" Lars interrupted the man's gaze by stepping forward after mustering all his courage to do so. "Look, Air Captain, a fearless one." A bald man standing only 4 feet laughed at Lars. Soon, the rest of the Silent Reaper crew cackled. "What can ye offer, Captain Lars o' the Striker?" the black man asked with an amusing smile on his face. 3 million worth o' pillage. In exchange fair me and me crew's lives." Lars turned his head to look at Michael, who was standing among his crew. Michael smiled. He didn't think Lars actually noticed the chest taken by him. Following Lars' words, every pair of eyes on the ship fell on Michael and Gaia. "Interestin' offer an interestin' people," the black man said. "Ye took a lass on board, no wonder ye ended to the sky in our sight." The short man had a surprised look on his face. "Ye don't take a lass on board. They be bad luck," another one of the crew members exclaimed. This one had a bald head, a greasy beard, and teeth that were so dirty that it would make even an aged dentist raise his brows. The black man signaled his men to let Michael and Gaia come forward. "No one steals from me." Just when he was walking past Lars, he said in a husky voice, "Hi readers of Ranobes and other sites, if you are wondering why there was no update for some time, it's because I was tested a COVID positive. I had to take bed rest. Always check Webnovel for my announcements as I explained about my condition and update schedule in Webnovel. However, now I'm 90% recovered thanks to everyone's wishes. I'll start updating regularly as I used to. Again, I'm sorry for not letting you all know about everything earlier." Chapter 229. While the Silent Reaper was engaged in a battle with the Striker, Gibson was snoring regardless of the loud cannon, exploding sounds on his tiny little bed that barely had enough space to support his whole body. One could see a couple of empty rum bottles on his hairy chest. His once first body now turned flabby. Fat covered most of his muscles. A particularly notable feature was his missing limb. He lost his right leg when he was serving under Her Majesty many years ago. At that time, he wouldn't even have imagined a pirate life, yet here he is, sleeping in a pirate ship. Chap. He slapped his own cheek in sleep to find a peanut stuck in his bushy sideburns. The empty rum bottle on his chest reflected a round face with a softly shaped jaw, a straight nose, and two sleepy brown eyes. His medium-length hair was all over the place as some of the strands were running into his mouth. Boom! 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 What now? Finally, Gibson couldn't take any more of violent shakes or the loud booming sound. He picked his body from the bed before fitting the wooden leg to substitute his lack of right leg. Even a curse couldn't cure the hangover of mine. Gibson chuckled, throwing away his empty rum bottles. He then picked a small leather drinking pouch. Thank God. He smiled, seeing that there's still some rum left in the pouch. Pulch. On top of his hangover, the shaking ship made walking in a straight line pain in the butt. While he was stumbling forwards, a broken splinter of wood exploded from the hull and stabbed him in his shoulder. One would expect him to scream or at least flinch, but he didn't even notice the 6-inch splinter sticking out of his shoulder. We are cursed, yet here we are, destroying who knows what, Gibson mumbled, taking a short sip from his leather pouch. None of the crew, including the current Captain Bull, knew the full extent of the curse. The curse stripped away their sense of touch, smell, pain, and touch. On top of that, the curse occasionally made the crew enter a deep slumber that could last from a couple of months to several years, and no crew of the Silent Reaper could leave the ocean. If their feet touched the ground, they would be painfully turned into ashes. He was telling the crew that the curse is also making the Silent Reaper playing with the minds of the enemy crew, but the pirates were too dumb or ignorant to listen to his theory. If the pleasure of getting drunk was stripped away by the curse, he would have taken a boat to some island and killed himself. Other than drinking rum, there was no pleasure in his life. It would be a lie if he said he didn't love the life before the curse. He loved being a pirate, more than being a soldier in the Royal Navy under Her Majesty. After the curse, the previous captain started to pillage every ship he saw, not just for gold but for more information about the curse. He believed someone could tell them how to break the curse. Although it was highly unlikely to find someone who knew about a curse put by a sea folk elder, it was better than just aimlessly roaming the ocean. Surrender or die. Here it goes. Gibson halted his steps to take some deep breaths. After this, he wouldn't have time to take a breath because he would be busy interrogating the hostages. Just because he was a soldier before pirates, the pirates gave him the job of interrogating. Somehow they failed to understand the fact that he was a navigator on a Royal Navy ship. For the pirates, everyone on a Royal Navy ship was a soldier. Pick yourself up, Gibson, Gibson said to himself before taking a long sip of rum. Stumbling through the bunk beds of his fellow pirates, he finally reached the stairs leading to the upper deck. Walking the stairs wasn't as easy as once it was for him when he had 2 human legs. Now the wooden leg made even the simplest thing like climbing the stairs a pain. 20 more to go, Gibson, only 20 more. He looked up at the 20 steps in front of him and sighed. 19, 18 eventually, after 15 whole minutes of heavy breaths and long sips of rum, he finally made it to the upper deck. Gibson saw Captain Bull staring at a young man who seemed very out of place to Gibson. The young man looked cleaner than everyone else. He wore a long gray coat and black breeches. After many years, Gibson saw a clean guy. The young man had the perfect jawline and features that would make any girl's heart beat faster. He was so handsome that he would make every Prince Gibson had met pale in comparison. Even with his long coat, Gibson could see the muscles hiding within. His eyes were so focused on the youngster that he failed to notice the girl standing among the hostages. Despite being surrounded by pirates, Gibson saw no fear on the young man's face. He saw only amusement. Right on time, Gibbs. Yeah, ye be welcome to the 7 seas, o livin' Gibbs. You 3 sheets to the wind, bastard. It's time you woke to the sky, ye old fuck. Gibson ignored his crew members' shouts as he saw the young man turn his sharp gaze towards him. Gibson felt like the sea devil himself staring straight into his soul. There was something in the young man's gaze. Hey, race my counter offer, Captain Bull. Gibson heard the young man speak. Agree to serve under me or I will kill everyone here. The young man paused for a second before continuing. One by one until you accept. Everyone including Gibson was stunned. He was surrounded by 60 pirates and one monstrous-looking Captain Bull. Ha 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 ha. It took the pirates a couple of seconds before bursting into laughter. Even normally serious Captain Bull chuckled in amusement after the young man's words. Not only the crew but some of the less affected hostages had a smirk on their faces. Now that there ye have a comedian and 3 million worth o' pillage, can ye let us go? After the laughter died down, Lars opened his mouth. Because of Lars' strong mental power, he was far less affected by the Silent Reaper than the rest of his crew. Captain Bull, however, didn't answer Lars. He just stared at the young man. Gibson limped to the side to lean on a wall to see what's going to happen. Somehow he had a feeling that this young man was not kidding around. Ye want to be the captain? Bull asked as Gibson saw the young man nodded. Ye 'ear that, lads. Ye want to be the capno, our cursed Silent Reaper. Stop wasting my time, Bull. Fall in line along with your crew, or I'll kill you first to make a statement. Ah ha ha ha. You'll kill me? Bull laughed while the rest of the pirates stared at the young man with cold killing intent in their eyes. All right, I'll let ye try. Bull took out his 2 cutlasses. The crew quickly cleared the center of the stage for Captain Bull to kill the young man. Give him a sword, Bull said to the short man, but he saw the young man shake his head walking towards the center of the deck. Every pirate and hostage on the ship stared at Michael like he was the stupidest person they had ever met. By comparing their body alone, they could tell that Bull could snap the young man in half. If he had taken the weapon, he would have at least had a fighting chance, but now, he seemed like dead meat in their eyes. No need, the young man stood a few meters away from Captain Bull without a weapon in his hand. What is he doing? Gibson asked himself, looking at the young man. Are you going to stand there all day? Bull was provoked by his words and the careless look on his face. He clenched his 2 cutlasses tightly to leap at the young man. The pirates and the hostages were expecting a gory beatdown when they saw the young man calmly raise his hand. Zzzzz. Boom! The next moment, they were stunned beyond words to see a thick bolt of golden lightning shoot out of the young man's hand. In a blink of an eye, the lightning bolt went straight through Captain Bull's head as his head exploded into a red mist. He cast spell. Gibson's body went rigid while many people lost control over their bladders. They were scared shitless. For a long couple of seconds, they just stared at the headless body of Bull wandering around on the deck without uttering a word or moving a muscle. It wasn't a long fight with fancy moves. In fact, the fight didn't even last for more than a couple of seconds. From Bull raising his cutlasses to his head exploring happened so quickly. What shocked everyone more than Captain Bull's death was the lightning bolt shot out from his hand. They wanted to find another explanation, except they simply couldn't. How did he cast a spell inside the void line? This was the question that ran inside the minds of many. Captain. C.A.P. Words barely escaped from some of the loyal pirates. It had been a long time since the pirates felt fear. While they were about to raise their cutlasses, Gibson heard the young man spoke again. I can break your curse. You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.